Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the Mandalorian Season 2 review, the Season 2 finale review. Ooh, I'm the trickster, Travis Snell, and I'm joined by the man in the red shirt.
Taylor Field.
Taylor's colorblind.
Oh, fuck. Joined by...
I am your friendly neighborhood caster, Kirklin Patzer.
And we are joined by a special guest, the one and only, the returning.
Oh, the Australian Kyle Smid. What's up?
The Caesar making Kyle Smid. You get the background there?
Yeah, it's not too bad.
Do you recommend that for our YouTube video listeners or watchers? Is that a good one?
It's a vibe. I would go for it.
Oh, yeah.
But use gin and the Caesars where it's at. It's
a vibe. Kyle's almost 30 years old and he's still saying it's a vibe. You know,
I feel 21 at heart.
You're living the 21 lifestyle. So, ladies and gentlemen, if you haven't guessed by the title or what I just introduced, we are about to talk about Mandalorian Season 2. We'll give our overall thoughts, and then we will give you big spoiler warning, because I'm sure you've all seen it if you're listening to this, but sometimes there's still some people that haven't, and this is a big one, and you do not want to get anything spoiled. So, Taylor Field, before we get going, where can they find us on the interwebs?
Ladies and gentlemen, you can find us with your internet connection in the search bar. Geekverse.ca is our home base. Geekverse on Facebook. Geekverse Cast on Twitter. And sorry,
you all right there?
I'm trying to convene with you on something, Travis, but you aren't responding to it. So.
You said something about the display going thing.
Yeah,
what happened?
Yeah, it's bad, and I think we should do a fresh retake.
I'm watching on YouTube. Nothing's wrong now.
Trust me, it's bad, and we should definitely do a fresh retake, on a scale of 100%.
But what is actually wrong? There's audio's fine. Video's on there.
Trust me. Let's do a retake, and I will tell you.
I think a spoiler. Is there a spoiler?
Yeah, you can add this to the bloopers. Yeah, let's do a retake and cut it before anyone sees it.
But what's a spoiler?
I'm not gonna say because we're live right now, but it's I cut it out super quick.
Cut the feed.
No one noticed. No one would have noticed. You're fine.
Yeah,
you're fine.
They would have noticed.
But people are tuning in. Just if you not see the spoilers, just don't go to the very beginning of the video. You're fine. This will all be edited out. I'll edit this part out. Okay.
Okay.
You know.
Spoiler. Good spoiler. Good spoiler.
Yeah, it was a spoiler. We went live, and I looked. I'm like, "Oh shit! I gotta take that off the screen."
That's why we need a big red emergency button that just cuts the feed.
I don't understand what just happened. I'm so confused.
So explain this to Kyle and our audio listeners. We have our YouTube version. Go to YouTube. You can watch us live. You can be in the chat, add to the conversation. And Taylor, with this new setup now, Kyle, is why we're using Skype instead of Zoom, is he has this new setup where he can have nice background and images and stuff like that, so he can throw up anything he wants. So I guess when he made the video live, there was a spoiler image from this episode while I'm saying we're in the non-spoilers portion. So we are fine. It'll be edited out later on. It'll definitely be in the bloopers 2020. But as I was just saying, you can find us YouTube, the video version, or live. You can go down the description below and it has every single link. Spotify, iTunes, Spreaker, the whole shebang. Head over, most importantly, to geekverse.ca, because Taylor just is in the middle of a refurbishing of the website. Bunch of new stuff on there. Easy way to find every single link. If you like what we do, please rate and review us on iTunes. That really helps us. We're almost at 200 reviews. We're getting really, really close to hitting that nice big 200. So that would help us out big time. And please give us 5 stars. If not, don't worry about it. Just walk and do something else. And the other big important thing is Patreon. Right now, the 2 exclusive episodes this month, you can get the holiday special Star Wars one, Jingle All the Way commentary track. We're doing After 9. By the time you're listening to this, we'll probably record this live. That's our Patreon call-in show. It's going to be tons of fun. Christmas movies, talking a whole bunch of stuff. So you get a bunch of ad-free, exclusive, early episodes, tons of tiers, so go check that out. A big shout out to Carl Ritchie and Aaron Braden, who's our Patreon producers. Check out the Geekverse podcast network, Geek Ultimate Alliance, 7 days a week, 10 shows, tons of stuff going on there, lots of great content. So I think I've hit everything. Taylor, before we go, you want to announce who won our video game poll, and then we'll get into this review.
Yeah. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you. Like a big, big thank you to everyone that participated on Facebook in the poll. It's always awesome to have the support and everyone like super excited, like especially for the next poll that'll be coming around the corner. But the winner of the fan-based video game poll was Darth Malik from Knights of the Old Republic. He had like a clean lead over Spider-Man from Amazing Spider-Man game, and we extended it for like 48 hours total, and he was just like well over by like almost like 100 votes, I think. So a lot of people were rooting for him, which I'm surprised because he kicked Master Chief out. So a lot of people were rooting for him, and yeah.
You a bit sad about that, Taylor?
No, I like it. I had a hunch that Darth Malik was gonna pick up steam because he was really doing good. I wasn't sure about Spider-Man taking the lead because Darth Malik was like our fan base on Facebook is like Star Wars and Marvel. So to have them pitted against each other was very an interesting dynamic to see. So yeah, Darth Malik took it, and yeah, we'll be right into the new year. I'm gonna get the next poll set up because a lot of people are expressing excitement. So come January, we'll have that new poll, and it's gonna time in with some new Disney Plus content coming out. Maybe.
Yeah, it's gonna be an interesting one. Yeah. So, ladies and gentlemen, we are going to talk about Mandalorian finally. Like I said, all links are down below. Kyle, I'm going to start with you. What have you thought about this season, and what do you think about this closing episode? Again, nothing specific about this episode yet, but what have you thought about the season overall in this episode?
For me, I think I really liked the season overall. I thought it was a lot more enjoyable than the first one personally, but there's a lot. Some of the show episodes were a bit filler, but I feel like that's kind of what you have to do just to keep the storyline going. You can't always have like this most amazing episodes one after another, but I don't know. I still really liked it, and especially this last episode, but even the ones prior were still really good. So great show. I highly recommend it to anyone who's into this. So yeah, it's great.
Kirklin.
Am I reviewing the season?
No, because you've been with us every episode, so you can give your score at the full season at the end, or you can drop at the beginning, whatever you want
It
to do.
sounded like you're asking me to add on to what Kyle said, and you asked Kyle what he thought of the second season.
Rate
so.
Kyle's drink.
I'm just trying to. I mean, overall, season's been awesome. Tune into our previous episodes if you want to know how I feel about each episode. But for this episode, the finale, I thought it was awesome. I thought it was just high energy, really exciting from the get-go. I'm just really excited to talk about spoilers, so I don't want to go too deep on my non-spoiler part. But overall, phenomenal. Highly recommend the show to anyone that hasn't seen it. I don't know why you'd be tuning in right now if you haven't seen season 1, but if you haven't, go check it out. Watch our season 1 review and all that jazz. But yeah, this is just so phenomenal. I'm so excited to see where they go on season 3. I feel like it's less of a cliffhanger than season 1, without getting into anything. But I'm still really excited to see what they do, and just the different players that we have now in the show. So.
Taylor, why were you giggling? You throwing up some more spoiler images?
No, whenever someone says spoiler, I'm gonna giggle. I'll tell everyone what the spoiler was and what my mistake was when we go into spoilers.
I think we all know. I have a feeling. Taylor Field, yeah, go ahead, you.
Yeah, for me, this episode was just it was awesome. It was just popping off, and it got right into the action. I feel like, and picking up into the story, and it did not disappoint. It was 46 minutes of just pure Star Wars content that I loved. The score was just fueling the Star Wars aesthetic and vibes that were going on, and it was just so exciting. It was awesome, and I felt like you could hear like a million screams all shouting at once. And
the younglings?
Yeah, those two. It's just all these fans just like so excited to be a Star Wars fan because they just like they topped off the first season's finale, I'd say, and they did so much more. And again, they did things that I wasn't expecting. I thought they would have like that cliffhanger, a little bit of a teaser with things. Depending wherever that goes, it's whatever you want it to be. But it's just interesting because they were very bold this season, and this episode was very bold in what it did, but it delivered in so many ways, so many ways. Yeah. I do want to shout out the Black Series figure of the week. 'Cause that's my new trend thing that I'm doing. I have a Black Series figure on our stream every week that we do a review, and they just unveiled Bo-Katan's Black Series in Canada, so I pre-ordered her earlier. So I'm so ecstatic.
You get that Moff Gideon one yet?
I'm trying. It's always out of stock though. I guess people want them.
I guess so. That toy's looking pretty good. So yeah, I echo what these guys say. I'm gonna say because obviously lots of times with the premiere and the finale, we have people tune in that maybe didn't tune in the whole season. I will echo what I've said a few times. Is this is just reinvigorated my love of Star Wars because it's just so funny. We're coming on a year anniversary soon, I think, of Rise of Skywalker, and that was just such a. I don't think it's like the worst movie of all time or anything like that, but it was just such like a plummet to like thinking about today when we're reviewing this episode, the recording. It's the 5-year anniversary of Force Awakens. I remember when that movie ended, just being so hopeful and just being like, man, I cannot wait for the future of Star Wars. Now, I still can, and there was times in that where, yeah, I'm not saying a movie like Solo, I didn't just give up, but there was just something with that main trilogy and some of these characters we loved and whatnot, that being the main thing. I thought, oh, if they handled it like this, where are they going to handle it the rest of them? But somehow, I'll give credit to Jon Favreau, I'll give big credit to Dave Filoni, to his boy, but they just did a great job, and there's many things, and I know there's a big spoilers thing, but there's just also a minor one I can't wait to shout out as far as just this felt like they're using the whole Star Wars universe to the nth degree and making everything count. It feels like there's something for everybody. If you're an old school fan, if you're a new school fan, if you're a fan of canon, if you're a fan of animated stuff, and that's what it felt like. It felt like, not to say it was this hyperbole of a hype moment, but it felt like the end game of seeing everybody on screen and like, wow, this is what Marvel can get to. This is kind of what Star Wars. It's a smaller degree, but it still just felt like, wow, And like I said, I felt that with Force Awakens. Haven't really fully felt that since then. And this season was great. This episode was just a knockout of a finale. Like, it was way better than last year's, and last year's was a good finale. But yeah, I have some problems. They're technical problems, but as far as like story and character, there's no problems whatsoever there. Like all of it knocked out of the park, and I'm so excited again. Now this funny being Force Awakens. Let's see in 5 years where I am. Let's hope this time it is like I feel the same way as Force Awakens. When I saw Luke Skywalker and Rey was holding that lightsaber and she's like, this is the future of Star Wars. This ended and she's like, hey, this is the future of Star Wars. I hope I hope it doesn't go the same way where I got a little, iffy. But that's a good thing with all these shows coming up, that there's so many options nowadays. And this episode did a fantastic job. These guys shout out the score. Ludwig is just, I think, one of the MVPs. But I'm ready to get into spoilers. So anything else to say, or should we just break open this can and just dive right in?
Break it.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, we're gonna take our first ad break. Yeah, send that vibe. We're gonna take our first ad break, and then after that, this helps support the channel, helps grow the channel. So after I'm gonna give it the count, I'm gonna 3 count. You're gonna get an ad, and then we'll be in the spoilers. So 3, 2, 1. All right, we are into spoilers now. Let me just take off.
Oh, he's taking off the mask.
Put my good old
I can't even
Luke
see what it
Skywalker
says.
shirt on. You can't see it in the image, but that's what I'm wearing
Can't
right
see it
now.
at all.
You can't, but that's what I'm telling them. I'm telling the audio people too.
Go to the other cam. Maybe I'll be able to see it easier.
Okay, I'm gonna switch over.
Yeah, definitely. Oh, you can see it. Yeah.
Oh, you can see it better.
Yeah, it's a bit better.
Oh yeah, look at that.
Oh.
Yeah, what's this down there? No. So then we go.
Get out of here.
So hey, can you see the green at all behind me?
No.
Yeah, a little bit when you pointed down at the ding dong.
Yeah, a little bit. Kirklin was green in my parade. So, ladies and gentlemen, let's just fucking talk about it. Luke Skywalker. We're gonna. I think there's a bunch of chunks, and I know sometimes Taylor's like, "Oh, save it, save it." No. I want to jump right into this because. So the whole finale was the whole rescue to get Grogu, right? We kind of knew that was going to happen, get the team together, and that was great seeing everyone assemble. You had Bo-Katan, you had Sasha Banks, you had Cara Dune and everything. Carl Weathers' brief cargo did not get the call, so unfortunately for him. But Boba Fett was there, everybody. But
No Bill Burr.
Bill Burr. No, he wasn't in this episode.
I know.
Oh
that's what I
no,
said.
Bill Burr. I thought
No
you said
Bill
Bill Burr. I'm like, did I miss his off-screen death or something?
Well, I was expecting him to make an appearance, especially since they brought him back. I don't know, and like, was it last week's episode when
Last
they brought him?
episode, yeah.
Yeah. So I don't know. I thought that the reason why they were bringing him back was to be a member of the
did
crew,
too.
but.
So Taylor, before I lay out the entire plot, did you want to tell us the spoiler that you
Yeah.
shot up accidentally?
Looking at it now, I actually don't think people would even know it's Luke. But if you look at our video feed, I left the CGI head of Luke up right when we went into no spoilers. But looking at it, it's like, honestly, you look at it, it's like, who is this guy? You wouldn't even think
It's just a
Luke.
guy.
It's just a guy, yeah. So no one's gonna really know. Not until you see him in the context of the episode.
I think you're in the clear, and this is why I'm gonna gloat a little bit later on because I had 3 trash told you so's in this episode, and I did say the second when we got to that Ahsoka episode, and she said, "Oh, you got to take him to this ancient temple," and I told you that's my first told you so as far as Luke Skywalker was gonna be the guy because we'd only heard the words ancient temple somewhere else, and that was in Last Jedi and Force Awakens, about what Luke was gonna do. And then the other thing I remember, because Kirk was gonna hype in this. Remember, I told you how the Jedi would debut is they're gonna be pinned down behind a door. They're looking like they're dead to rights. What's gonna happen? They didn't do the whole Qui-Gon lightsaber through the door, but it was pretty much that scene where he shows up, wrecks people in the hall. So I'll get to my third one later. But then they're in this room. These Death Trooper or Dark Troopers, which we'll talk about in a second. They're in the hall. Someone comes down with the X-wing. Gloved hand, green lightsaber. We're just seeing some ass-kicking moments going on, and then it is Luke Skywalker. It is very CG Luke Skywalker, and we'll get in that debate after because that's been a big online debate. But Kirklin, what did you just think, just in general, the character seeing this was confirmation, this was Luke Skywalker, and also we're going to talk about a bunch of stuff like the future with Grogu and everything like that. But what was your feeling seeing Luke Skywalker actually in this? Because it's pretty crazy, and the one thing I'd have to say I want to say in spoilers, but I thought it might give something away, is just this feels like such a kick down of a door because it felt like if you look at DC and Marvel, like Marvel Netflix was like they were connected, but they never really were, right? And DC for a while they don't anymore, but they had this rule of like you can't use like film characters. There's TV characters, and then this episode, this season showed a lot, but with Boba, but this episode with Luke Skywalker shows that. Oh, anything's possible now in the future of Disney Plus stars. Like just because it's a TV show doesn't mean anything's off limits. And they took arguably, which I think many people could make the case, the biggest character of Star Wars in Luke Skywalker and put him into the show, regardless of CGI stuff. Like they put him into the show. So what was your feeling seeing in this episode?
Yeah, it was pretty crazy. At first when you see him ignite his lightsaber and kicking ass, like there's no color on it, so of course it's just building up to the anticipation. And then as soon as it showed the lightsaber and then followed by the glove, I was actually getting rowdy. I was like losing my mind. Shay was just sitting on the couch on her phone, not really paying attention, but I was just going crazy. I'm like, this is like the craziest moment in all of Star Wars. Like this is insane. And then. Like it was just so hype, and I feel like I almost like forgot that we were getting a Jedi in this episode. Of course, I saw like in the group chat, just like, oh, I can't wait to see like the Jedi and all these. I'm like, oh yeah, I forgot that it's gonna be happening this week. But like, holy shit! In that moment, like I feel like because it was just such a like intense scene too. Like they're kind of pinned, with pinned in the corner. You got these dark troopers coming, just. Absolutely gonna wreck them, and then of course the Jedi comes in, kicks ass. I was so incredibly hyped, and it was so funny because as he was getting closer to the room where the rest of them were, I was like, I kept telling Shay too. I'm like, oh my god, it's gonna be Sebastian Stan. It's gonna be Sebastian Stan. Like it's gonna be like a different actor or something. And then I swear to God, because they have such a similar like facial structure, like Mark Hamill and him. Yeah, the jawline. Like right before he took off the hood, I'm like, it's Sebastian.
I thought it was too.
And it wasn't. And I'm like. I knew, like obviously I knew it was gonna be Luke as soon as I saw the glove, but as soon as I saw like the CGI face, like my hype kind of went down a little bit. I'm not gonna lie, like I don't know what it was. I feel like I was just a little uneasy on the CGI face or something like that, because in my mind I was just starting to think of like what this is gonna mean. Are we gonna see a lot of CGI Mark Hamill, like in the next seasons or whatever it might be? I know it's the Mandalorian, it's not the Luke Skywalker show, so it'll probably be really like just selective with how they use him in the show. And I don't know. I'm really curious as to what they do with him. But yeah, just in that moment, I was so hyped to see Sebastian. I know he's doing like, he's got his own
Falcon
show
Winter
with
Soldier,
Falcon
yeah.
and Winter Soldier and all these things. But in that moment, I was just so hyped to see him, and I'm like, I can't believe it's actually happening, and it wasn't. And it just kind of took me down a couple notches. Overall though, like him getting there and kicking ass, like that was just amazing. Like that was such a hype Star Wars moment. And yeah, like you mentioned, Travis, like it's got me so hyped on Star Wars again. Like this is just crazy.
See, I'll go now because I think I know how Taylor feels, but I'll throw it to Kyle in a second. But I had that exact same experience as Kirkland because I the second they were pinned down the room, I was like, this is exactly what I talked about. It's happening. Here comes the Jedi. And the giveaway for me wasn't the glove, it was the X-Wing. And that's where I knew, it's our fucking boy Luke. Like it's coming. In that moment, I literally did stand up from the couch. I was pacing. I was like, because it was just this it feels strange to say, and this is going to be the comparison, but it felt like the first time you knew you were going to have sex, because it was just that you're like, oh my God, it's happening. It's about to happen. Like, here we go. It's happening. Like, Taylor doesn't, Taylor, just wait. I got even more X-rated.
I think I know what you're going with this.
I got even more X-rated comparison here. But anyway, so when I saw, this was an incredible, like a great tribute right away to the Vader hallway scene from Rogue One, like the parallels of dad and son, like wrecking shop in this scene, everything like that. The choreography was great. And just like how long, because I've watched the scene multiple times and I rewatched the whole episode today, how long it actually takes to get to Luke Skywalker. It's quite like, it's a good couple minutes. Like they're like showing the elevator and like they show, and it's like first the X-Wing and then the glove and then the belt and then the lightsaber. It's like they just give you these little pieces slowly and just building. And that elevator feels like it's forever when it's like ticking to the top of like when it's going to hit the floor. And I always say this, and this is where I'll flip it, for our lady listeners. So let's say it's a man or woman. They're giving you some great cunnilingus, something like that's going on. And let's say it's going fantastic. And this is what Luke Skywalker is, right? They've woken you up. You're having a great time. And right when you're about to get to that finish point, it's feeling super strong. You look down at your man or woman down there, and you see that they're just wearing like a clown mask or something like that. And you still come, but it feels confusing at the same time, and you don't know what's happening. And that's what
like
happens.
That scene in Blockers when John Cena like locks eyes.
That's what it was like.
It happens,
I was Gary Coleman in that situation, it was like, it is Gary Coleman, and that's where it's like I felt that, and I will be honest, and Kirk, when you rewatch it, same thing with Taylor. I'm not sure how many times you have, but I've rewatched it several times, and the more I rewatch it, it's because it's coming, so it's better. Like I get more used to it now, but that initial thing, my hype, I won't say went off a cliff, but it did take a big, it was way, because the problem is it's that uncanny valley thing of he takes off his hood and all of a sudden when it's not a real person, you're looking like, is this Mark Hamill de-aged? Is this CGI? What is this? And you're looking to see his face. And I will say, to be honest, I've watched it again and it feels better, but it still doesn't look great. There's many shots. It just looks very video game cutscene, and that takes me out a bunch. And yes, I'm feeling better about it, but at the end of the day, I wish they went with an actor. If this is just one scene, and me and Taylor were talking about this last night, so I get why they're going for CGI Mark Hamill, but still, even if it's just one scene, get Sebastian Stan or go find a nobody who looks like Mark Hamill. It just took me out of it a little bit, and I'll have more to say on that going forward. But it's just, I think that they should have. We'll see if we get more, and we'll talk about that. But I personally still think they should have went with a real guy, because it took me out of it too much, because it didn't look good. It didn't look good enough for prime time, in my opinion. Sometimes when he was afar or certain angles, but some of those full-on direct shots it just didn't fit. Kirklin Patzer of Geek First Podcast.
Yeah, well, I have the exact same thought process. I especially, I don't know, looking forward into the future, considering it's not like they're going to just not have Luke Skywalker back in the show again. He's going to have to at least have some appearance. And then,
well, they brought him into the fucking show, so it's
exactly.
They open that can of worms now.
Because they showed him as the CGI, that's the way that we have to see him. They showed their cards that they have to stick to their guns. They can't just swap it out.
I think they can. You don't remember this, but in Avengers and Guardians of the Galaxy, Thanos looked different, and he was a different color purple.
And then
looked
terrible the first time we saw him.
What you? Yeah, I know, but I'm just saying, they could easily come out in the press and be like, you know what? Because Luke's actually gonna have a further role. We wanted to get an actor this time. We weren't sure where we were going. That's where we CGI'd. Blah blah blah. They could spin it as, now that he's a bigger character, or we're doing a show, we want somebody. Are you looking up Thanos right now, Kirkland? Now that I said
No.
that. Oh,
No,
okay.
I'm not.
Kyle, I'll go with you because
Hold on. I didn't even finish what I was saying. So I Googled who like the actor is who's beneath the CGI and everything. He almost looks like Mark Hamill. Like they could have just used him as the no-name actor. He was in like the Sandlot. He was like a child actor. Like that was the last thing he was in.
Well, it's strange because they have the stand-in. I think that's the guy you're talking about. But then the credits list Mark Hamill in the credits. So people have been trying to figure out like, did he was on set and did they de-age him or was it a CGI face? I think it's a CGI face over top a guy because it just didn't look good.
Did it sound like Luke? Like did it sound like Mark Hamill? I feel like it didn't.
It didn't. It was like 50-50 for me.
Yeah, I was just so like, I feel like I was just so in the shocked state, like you mentioned. Like I gotta watch it again.
It sounded like a video game, Luke, like right out of Battlefront 2, like same voice, I'd say.
Anyways.
Kyle Smith, what do you think about Luke? And then we're talking about it now. So after your thoughts on Luke, what do you think about the look of him? Because I think when I talked to you, you didn't feel as bad about it, so it didn't really hurt it for you.
I guess for me, I've been kind of more out of the loop of, the fans wanting Sebastian to be the new Luke coming up. So I had no idea. So for me, I feel like I had a bit of a different experience a little because I wasn't disappointed. I was like, saw the X-Wing. It's like I forget what her name is, but she kind of makes a joke like, oh, one ship's going to save us. And it's like, oh, I'm like, oh, you just wait. And then like a whole slow build up. And it's like, I can't believe this happening. Like, again, like I jumped out from like, I was watching it in bed and I jumped out of my bed. It's like, I can't believe this. Like they're not dropping this. I was so pumped. And then as soon as they revealed it, I was just still blown away. Like, even though it's like CGI, I still didn't care. I was like, I'm still pumped. Like, this is amazing. Like to see this, like go in from just not from the movies, just now into the TV series, like what Travis said earlier, just like kicks the door open. And it was unreal. And even they just like bring in R2-D2 as well too. And kind of just like, it's like, oh, is this like the new gang that's coming through? Like, this is just unreal. So for me, like, I'm still hyped on it. Like, I couldn't believe like this happened. Like, cause I had no idea. Like, I've just been watching the series and like haven't been like reading any reviews or like going into like Reddit threads or anything like that. So like just to have like a clean thought process and just like take it in as it was, like I just loved it. I thought it was just so well done. And yeah, I rewatched it again because just the hallway scene and with the Dark Troopers was just like unreal. It was like Rogue One. Like that's what Rogue One felt like for me when we watched the Darth Vader scene. It was just like something like just like copied and paste that choreography and just like everything that happened. Like even his fighting style was exactly like Darth Vader. Like going through that, like, and how aggressive it was and like taking that Dark Trooper and just like crunching him up. I was like, what? Like it was just unreal.
There's some sort of like fog too in the hallway, so like the glare off the lightsaber was the exact same effect that it had on like the Darth Vader scene. So that was really cool. Good parallel. I don't know.
Oh yeah, they definitely had that in mind when they were shooting that. They're like, we're gonna make this look, and it makes sense. So Taylor and Kyle just openly admitting he doesn't listen to Geekverse podcast. That's all right, Kyle.
Yeah, I was gonna call him out on it.
Taylor Field, what did you feel about Luke Skywalker and the look? And to save the future, because we'll talk about the future of Grogu and Luke after. Even though I think I've been waving some sort of Kylo Ren fan flag for a little bit the past 2 years, and he's gonna kill that little fucker. Go ahead, Taylor Field.
Yeah, like not much else to say other than what you guys have said already. I mean, it's just that moment was just, it was like shock and awe. Like, yeah, the X-Wing is coming in, and that's when it clicks. That's the first stepping stone, thinking like, okay, that's it. Is that Luke? And then me as a fan running through everything in my mind, I'm thinking, okay, like, what's the transition here, or not the transition? What's like, what's like the catch? Is this for sure?
How does it
Luke?
not happen?
Well, like, like,
How does he go somewhere else, or how do they avoid Luke Skywalker?
He's like force projecting himself again.
Not how do they avoid
like
Luke.
Last Jedi.
It's kind of like what I'm thinking. Like, okay, like, is this anyone but Luke? Like, are we being deceived here? Like, what is their angle? Are they like, is the build up to it? I love the build up, and I think it was awesome. Everything that they did was just fantastic. But at the same time, as they were building up to it, it made me feel like I was being deceived watching it. Like, okay, and again, I was getting the one little Easter egg after the next. So you see the X-wing, then you see him using a lightsaber, and then you see the glove and the green lightsaber. And it cements it as you go along. But I'm thinking, okay, like, what is this guy like? Could he be an imposter? Could he be some guy just like,
Is he
again,
Luke,
like
the clone from the
it could be, yeah,
Legends?
maybe the clone, who knows? But it's just the color of his lightsaber being like the different green and stuff. I almost thought there was one scene watching it where it looked like it wasn't acting like a real lightsaber, if that makes sense. Like, it did something that seemed like it was just like it not like a rip-off knockoff version, but like it was a brief moment that I looked at and saw. It was like it didn't do what I thought a lightsaber was gonna do when he like slashed down a droid, and I thought, like, holy shit, like, okay, like what's going on? But anyways, that being said, like, yeah, it's Luke, and his entrance was fantastic, and it was just mind-blowing. The way he's fighting, you guys are right. It's very much like that hallway scene, very much like Vader. I love how he feels like he's fighting like Anakin at times, from like Revenge of the Sith or something. I could feel like there were similarities in the way they were moving. And again, this Luke that we got to see, not visually, but before he pulls the hood off, he is like the Luke that I truly love. He has a lot of that Return of the Jedi mindset about him, and then beyond that, from what he's conquered through his tribulations. And I love that about this Luke Skywalker so much. But again, you have a Luke that's just, he's so powerful, and his fighting style is amazing, because when you look at, again, the sequel trilogy, we didn't get this kind of fighting Jedi style that we love and we're familiar with. Like, him fighting in this hallway scene, it felt like the Jedi fighting style that at least I know and that I love so much. It's just
Like
so,
the OG films.
like the OG films, yeah, OG and the prequel
a lot of
films.
weight in their swings.
Exactly, yeah. It was just, it was fast, it was quick, it was just so like agile and smooth. I really liked it. And not that there's anything wrong with the fight scenes in the sequel trilogy. It's just there are no OG Empire Strikes Back or Revenge of the Sith fights. They're doing their own thing, which is fine.
I didn't see him doing any front flips or anything though. You're giving us some similarities to Anakin.
Well, I mean, different scenarios. In a hallway, you can't really do many front flips, I guess.
When he's smacking down those younglings, he had some good strokes. Yeah.
And I would disagree with you as far as Rise of Skywalker. When they did that Kylo and Rey fight in the water thing, they were flipping all over the fucking place.
They were just jumping like this, like kangaroos.
But they were doing that. They were using they were like the way they'd use like force against the lightsaber. I think that one they made flashy. The other one, sure, but and even then, like the lightsaber in Last Jedi, I know it's not Luke actually being there, but he literally, like, Kylo Ren throws his lightsaber and he does like the Matrix like flip out of it. And he,
I'm
like,
not
flips
saying they're
twice.
bad. Like, I'm like they're
You're shitting on the sequel trilogy.
No. They're tackling lightsaber fights in their own way, and that's totally fair. That's totally fine. Me as a fan, I love the grace and the elegance of how the Jedi would fight in the prequel films and such. And again, that was what was represented here with Luke, and I think that was fantastic. The way he was talking to Grogu and to Din Djarin was just, it had that that confidence, and that, like, this isn't a Jedi that you would see in the prequel trilogy, you know, on the Jedi Council or anything like that. This is a Jedi that has gained so much wisdom and knowledge and has hit, to me at least, I feel like this is a Jedi you would see in the High Republic era, just the way he is just composed.
He's very confident.
He's very confident, and this is a Jedi that has his ally as the Force. Like, it's so awesome, and I loved everything about that scene. Again, this is a Jedi, Luke Skywalker, that you get to see in Star Wars Battlefront 2, and it's just, not to segue too far into like what'll happen, like you said, Travis, we'll get to that, but like I think one thing that kind of is a takeaway for me with seeing Luke, as much as I love seeing Luke, is just seeing, I guess, how he's so confident in his way of the Force and being a Jedi in this scene, and just seeing how changed he is in the sequel trilogy. And I guess that's great, like, character development, you could say, like, just the transition of the events that bring him to his knees and thinking the Jedi should be no more. But again, I look at this scene and I think, God, what if we got that sequel trilogy where we got to see him actually as like a Grand Master with yeah, like Jedi Knights and Padawans, so the new Jedi Council on like a planet or something like that. Like
Yeah,
we got
like the books.
like the books. Yeah, we got the poster of
Yeah.
that, and that's fine because the trilogy is done. They did what they did, and it's an interesting story in its own right. But again, this just it kind of made me sad to think like, oh, we could have got like that what if where we got Luke just popping off like he was in this hallway scene as Luke Skywalker the Jedi that we thought we were gonna get in the trilogy, if that makes sense. But to each his own.
Okay, so there's a few things. One, like when you're talking about like the fall, because I know people have their problems with Last Jedi. I don't. That's not really like one of my problems with Luke. But the thing is, like, this is like almost 25 years before that, right? So when you're like, oh, how does he get from that to that? A lot of things change in 25 years. A lot of things can change in a year in a person's life, right? So it's like in 25 years, a lot happens. Ben Solo's not introduced yet, and also the fact of like George was going to do the same thing. He said very much so about his scripts that some of the ideas that he was going to have Luke be a hermit like Yoda. So it's like no matter what, he would have been like this. So that's always my problem when people like say, and I'm not saying you're saying that, but like I think no matter what, Luke was going to be that. So it's just like you were never going to get that badass Luke. This is where you can get it. Unfortunately, they didn't make those sequels right after 83. So all these actors were a bit older. That's where I'm always like, like when they're kind of like, oh, we don't know if we're gonna do more with Ray, Finn, and Poe. If they don't want to, fine. But it's just like I don't want them to do the same thing to them, where it's like, oh, we'll revisit 30 years later. It's like, no, do it now or do it in the next 5 years.
They
You
build
know,
up
like,
a new Jedi Council, and then another Sith Lord comes in and kills all the younglings.
well, that's why I worry because the reception of the new trilogy was like meh, like not meh, but mixed, I'll say. But I don't think it's because of those actors or characters for the most part. I know there's like some fucking women haters that like can't get over themselves with Rey, and they're just like, oh, she's so powerful, I can't take it. But like I don't I want to see them again, and that's where the CGI Luke thing it's tough, right? Because I was talking about you with this Taylor. It's like with Alden Ehrenreich, some people like him, but it wasn't well received when he was cast as Han Solo. Not cast, but when people saw Han Solo, many people like myself was like, this isn't working out. So I wonder if they worry the same thing with Luke. But that's the thing of like, I do want to see these stories because there's 25 years, and I do want to see these stories. I think we can get the best of both worlds of Luke ended up as a hermit. He ended up disturbed. He ended up away from the Jedi and the Force. But there's still a lot of time where he wasn't, and I wanted to see that. I think the problem was lots of people expected Last Jedi to be that, but that clearly, if you look at Force Awakens, it was already said like, no, this guy's not like he's cut off from the Force. Like we were never gonna get that. So I think this is the time where we can get that. So it's like we get both. So that's why I'm happy. But it's just, what do you feel, Taylor, going forward as far as like what was your take? You already kind of hinted about the CGI, but why do you think they did it? And obviously you'd said, but you and I, it both didn't work for either of us.
No, it did not. Like again, it rewatching the scene multiple times, I'm getting better with it and I'm used to it and I can just breeze by, sure, whatever. But like watching it for the first time, it was literally like Old Man Herbert in Star Wars Family Guy Blue Harvest, where he like ignites his lightsaber and it's just sagging down as soon as the hood came down.
Oh my God, that's an image.
It's a great
Poor
scene
Madison.
in that movie. It's hilarious. But
Sorry, Madison, you ain't getting lucky tonight.
it was just so, I don't know. Like again, they went with the CGI. I guess maybe they, like you said, maybe they didn't want to take that gamble and pull an Alden on Einreich. What is his name?
Alden Ehrenreich. You just gave him like a really like Nazi Germany name to Alden Ehrenreich. like he might be German, but just the way you said it, like you're an inglorious bastard. But
Oh my
last
God.
night you said you were more on the camp of you thought the reason they did is because it was just going to be one scene.
Yeah, a one and done. And I say that because when you look at the other characters that they had plans for, like Ahsoka, which we thought was a one and done scene, boom, they announced her show later on. Fennec, they have plans
wasn't-
for her, obviously. So
Go back to the review. I don't think any of us watched and thought Ahsoka was going to be a one and done. I don't think so.
I think, well, it's I don't know. I think a lot of people might
We
have thought
talked
like
about how
that
she
was-
name dropped Thrawn. They set up that she was going to come back. This is not setting up he'll be back. He's back naturally because the story dictates, hey, eventually Kylo Ren loses his shit and kills all of Luke's students.
Okay,
which I'll
that's
get-
fair. Then I'll go to my backup pick, and that was Fennec, because obviously, like, we thought she died, and it's like, okay, they ended her story weird, but why would they have this like big time actress portray this character just to kill her off. No, they had plans for her. We just didn't know about it. So again, I feel like maybe they don't have plans for Luke because they just decided to do the CGI route. I mean, if they bring him back in the future, they can't have his head under a hood the whole time. So what's gonna happen? I mean, if they bring him back, then I sure as hell hope that they do cast someone, and it better be Sebastian Stan, because Kirklin, I was right there with you. He was going through. I'm like, Sebastian Stan, oh, this is actually gonna be it. You see the chin, I'm like, oh my god, he's got the Stan chin.
The funniest part. Sorry to cut you off. I was just gonna say the funniest part about that is how my hype shifted from being hyped on seeing Luke to being hyped on about to see Sebastian Stan as Luke, and then that second part just kind of deflated for obvious reasons.
Yeah.
But
again, like it
great
just
scene.
looking at his CGI face right now on our stream, like it doesn't look like Luke. Like
Check the group chat. I posted the actor. What do you think, Travis? You looked at it.
Yeah, he looks still like a little young. I think that's the problem, but like it's enough. Like I'd probably take it over the face because my problem is watching again, I get past it and I like it enough. I think the thing is that there's a moment, and this is where it's tough because I think you needed Mark Hamill's face for this in a sense, but he picks up Baby Yoda, Grogu, but in this instance, it's Baby Yoda. Why? Because Yoda is who trained him, so he is picking up the
Daddy
child.
Yoda.
What?
Daddy Yoda.
Well, yeah, he's picking. Okay, he's picking up the equivalent of his master as a child, and this has to be such a moment for him. And they do this thing where they try to emote his face as a computer. He's like, but like he can't. The computer can't do it. But they're trying to go for like a whimsical like what a moment, like right, like you're picking up like something that means so much to you, and it's like a rebirth of that. So that's where I won. For most of it, I go, okay, I'm fine with the CGI thing. I can get past it. But in that moment where he's supposed to show this look of wonder of, wow, I thought Yoda was the only one, and now I'm fine. Like literally, 5 years later? So it's not been that long. I'm finding another species version of Yoda, and this is to me incredible. So that's where I think you needed like someone like a Sebastian Stan or anyone to pull that off. So that's where it's tough when you really want the acting wise to happen. And like I said, I think over time it could be fine, but it's just I don't think it's something if he has a larger role, and that's why we got so much to talk about. We are going to talk about this episode because lots of time with Bo and Moff, but we're just on this topic right now. This is the juicy one. So what is next for Baby Grogu and Luke Skywalker? He is gone now. As of right now, we'll talk about this later, but I don't know. We don't know for sure about season 3 of Mandalorian because there's lots of speculation that this Book of Boba show is actually the 3rd season of Mandalorian, and Mandalorian's like taking a break. We don't know. We'll probably know Monday.
I thought they confirmed that Mandalorian season 3 returns December 25th, though. They said
they did, but they didn't confirm this show. So people have been wondering were they pulling a switcheroo on us? That they didn't want to spoil it, because you can say, oh, they're not going to lie, but we literally talked about this last night, how Sasha was like, I'm not in the rest of the season, and Sasha was back. So like because like the thing is, if we'll get into that, but if that's true, that means the Book of Boba, Ahsoka, and the Mandalorian are all coming out the same month. That's way too fucking many Star Wars shows for 1 month, unless they're like 2 episodes each. So that's why I could see people's reasoning of the Mandalorian season 3 being this kind of Boba Fett spin-off sort of deal, and then they go back to Din eventually, like some time's passed, you know?
Yeah, I mean, you do make a good point. I mean, the Book of Boba Fett just, again, when that dropped, I was like, oh, we're getting a new book.
I'm like, no, Taylor, it's a show, like the Book of Eli, like it's just a title. It's like, oh, okay.
But yeah, I'm inclined to still feel like we'll probably get 3 shows. I mean, because again, the title of Book of Boba Fett
in 1 month.
I wouldn't be surprised.
I can see it.
I wouldn't be surprised.
I'd agree with Taylor.
You just hear the Book of Boba Fett, and it's like, okay, that's literally focused solely on Boba Fett. And Boba Fett's like, he did his job, and now he's, Diawana Wanga out there with Fennec. So.
But you don't like. I feel like we bumped into this with the movies when it was like, hey, we're gonna do 1 movie every year, and then obviously I don't think it was too much because of the movies, but then people were like, it might be too much. You have 3 shows in 1 month. Kyle, are you gonna be able to keep up with all that if you have 3 separate Star Wars shows going at the same time?
It'll be hard, but it's worth it.
Fair enough. So we're gonna talk more about this. I'm gonna throw to our second ad break right now, and we will be right back in a second. Kyle, I didn't mean to cut you off. Were you still continuing to talk when I did that, or no?
No, I don't
Okay.
really have much more to add to that.
What about you, Kirkland? 3 shows in 1 month, if that were true.
I that is a lot. I mean, when you're looking at it on just like a scheduling thing for like most people that are working, they have families and they're like trying to like keep up with all these shows. Like it is kind of sketchy when you have all that going on. However, I feel like if you just take out like the Mando, Din, and you replace it with kind of like a side character that a lot of people might not be so attached to, like maybe they just weren't big fans of Boba, and maybe they've never even seen like the original Star Wars. They're just jumping in because they like this Star Wars like space.
They don't know
cowboy.
who Luke is. Like, who's this fucking
Yeah.
CGI character?
What's with this? Yeah, what's with this weird guy looking?
What is this
but
plot armor?
but like maybe people are just in the show because they love the relationship between Grogu and like Din. I am really interested in seeing what they do because I work with a lot of people that are just in the show, honestly, just for like Baby Yoda. Like they just like love that character so much and they're so attached to it. So I definitely don't think he'll just like be gone forever. I think we will get him back in the next season. I don't think it'll just be in the finale. I don't know. I don't want to make any like far out predictions or anything like that because I'll probably be wrong because I'm not usually good at that stuff. But I don't know. Like I just feel like the appeal isn't just for a Mandalorian show. It's for what the characters have kind of, I don't know, what we've grown to like about these characters.
Well, oh man, we got so much to talk about because
Yeah.
this brings up another thing that people brought up. So, Baby Yoda, obviously big deal. Episode 1, that was the cliffhanger. I feel like that's what got everyone talking about the show, right? Was the quality went up, everything, but it was like, oh, they got a Baby Yoda, stuff like that. The thing is, some people felt the Mandalorian was its own little pocket, and now this season has really put it into the Star Wars like Skywalker saga pocket. Like Kathleen Kennedy a year or so ago said, like, you know what, we're moving on from the Skywalker saga, but we just got announced that Anakin is coming back for the Obi-Wan series, and now we got Luke Skywalker in this. And true, it's not like another episode 10 stuff like that. But I don't care what they say. They're not like, that's not stepping away. When the most hype moment of the season, there's been tons of hype moments, but when people are losing their mind because Luke Skywalker is back, that's a Skywalker thing, and that's where it comes. Like, I never wanted them to move away. I always hated when they said that because it's just like, you can make a show without Skywalkers, but you don't have to like get rid of them, and you don't have to. It's the same way of like, because Rey being a Skywalker, to me that was like, oh, so does that mean we just never see her again? Because you said no more Skywalkers, and if she's a Skywalker, so I hope this means they're kind of loose on that, and they're like, yeah, we said that to sell some tickets, but really, but. How do you feel on Taylor 30? How do you feel with the people that are looking at this as a negative as far as they liked Mandalorian being its own separate thing? Pretty much like, Boba, some tie-ins, but this is because one of your hangups with Luke was you don't think they were going to do it because you don't think Dave and John were going to jump into the main continuity. You're like, nah, this is their own thing. They want to stay away from it. They've jumped in 2 feet because they set it out with Grogu being a part of Order 66 and escaping, but now this is full on, he is with Luke. And let's say, I agree with you. We're going to get more Grogu. But let's say we never saw Grogu again in any content whatsoever. It would be that, okay, he went with Luke to die on that planet with Kylo Ren. So that would be like literally tying it to the main franchise. I cannot wait to see.
So morbid.
I can't wait to talk about that more. But like, how do you feel, Taylor, about like that in general? But how do you feel about people that feel like, I liked it as its own separate thing, and now it is in a sense another part of the Skywalker saga. A little bit. It's a little offshoot of it, but it's part of it now. Luke's meeting these characters. He's talking to him. He has a Baby Yoda.
So like I definitely understand where these people are coming from because I was partially in that because I felt like this is live action Clone Wars Rebels that we're getting in these episodes, and to me, like, Clone Wars and Rebels, those are my jams. I love those shows. So when you have these side quest missions and episodes introducing new characters and all the spin-off characters that didn't make it onto the main 9 films, I thought it was truly special because it was incorporating so much of the Star Wars universe in a way that shows and showcases that it doesn't always have to connect to Skywalker or always be with Skywalker. Again, I understand why they did this, and I think it pays really great tribute to the fact that Luke was that main only Jedi at the time during this time period. And again, I think that pays great homage to kind of. But I think it pays great homage to what George was doing at that time with these with the Jedi, like only being Luke at the time of Return of the Jedi and everything. So I respect that, and I like that they did this at the end of the day. But again, I understand why people want something to just be its own thing. And again, it is tricky because when you have a show focused on Din Djarin and the Mandalorian, as soon as you put a Jedi in there, it pulls it away. And I remember that was something that J.J. Abrams talked a lot about with Force Awakens, is that how do you do this story with new characters and not have the spotlight jump over to Luke Skywalker when you introduce him? Because as soon as you drop Luke into that film, anywhere like the beginning or middle, all the attention is going to be on him. So the best way to go about it, put him at the end and on that cliffhanger. And again, that's what they did in this sense too with this episode, because if you put, Jedi in here in the Mandalorian story, it'll steal the spotlight, because at the end of the day, everyone wants Jedi, everyone wants Sith. That's like people's go-to. So, yeah.
Do you think though? Do it. Do you think though there's a worry now of people always be like, well, what's going on with Grogu and Luke? The thing is, this hype moment is not partially, a lot of it nostalgia. And honestly, and I got to another moment, I did start to tear up a little bit of seeing the little build up. I was getting emotional, man, we are seeing Luke. I'm the same as you, Taylor. Luke, Return the Jedi. I don't have any problem with the sequel trilogy, Power Quivers and Tosche Station. But Luke and Return the Jedi, that's my Luke. I love how calm, how confident he is, how scary he is in a sense of he's very threatening and very violent. He's not someone you want to actually cross. He force chokes people all the time. So I was always, that nostalgia of seeing that. But how do you top this now? Because it's just it's such a peak moment. And I agree with people saying that hey, if it was in the theater, this would be a cheering moment. I just want to shout out two people in our YouTube chat. Eddie just said PS4 Luke, so we've talked about he looks a little like cyberpunk Luke going on right now. And then people were going nuts on the episode. Could you only imagine when people see Obi-Wan and Vader go at it again in Kenobi series? Oh, people will love that. People are I'm in the minority of saying I don't know if I want that fight, but I'm guaranteed when the fight happens, I'll be pitching a lightsaber. My lightsaber will be ignited. So I Kyle, what about you? Do you worry the show now as far as the future of it? Not that sounds really dramatic, but I just mean once you introduce a main thing that we were talking about with the Skywalkers, that's a big step. So how do you kind of in the future incorporate that maybe, but don't make it the focal point, or don't make that I really wish we were running with Grogu and Luke? Because I almost wonder that with Boba Fett, when you introduce Boba Fett, would people be like, oh, we have Boba now, do I really need Mando? Boba's the OG, and they did a good job with that, but this is another level. So going forward, how do you think they, what? And I guess I'll also get your thoughts. What do you think is the future of Grogu and Luke?
I feel just kind of going through the steps, the feelings, just the whole point of the Mandalorian was to keep Grogu, right? And like Kirklin said, everyone's favorite character, a huge character, was Baby Yoda, and that was the hype for the last 2 years now. Mm-hmm. Is this? But now you guys talked about earlier, it's well, do they just not do the show anymore? Because that was kind of the whole point, and where do you go from this? And I feel it's awesome that as much as I love seeing Luke in that, I feel that now should just be kind of the end of that story. I don't know where you would go from that, because then it kind of takes away from the whole Mandalorian. It's no longer about Mandalorian. It's about now following Luke and Grogu going wherever they're at. So I feel if you're gonna, I feel you almost have to go away with that direction, and that was your carrying on moment. You've passed the torch to something else, and maybe that can come along and further down along the lines of maybe the end of the season, Grogu comes and finds Mandalorian and helps him at the end of whatever.
Shit.
Yeah, back
I'm taking that dark saber.
Played by Dave Bautista.
But I don't know where else you go, right? You can just I guess, because there's no point of having the Mandalorian now. Well, with Luke and Grogu, because then it takes the whole point of the focus of, that's why I like the Mandalorian. It was the offshoot of not talking about the Skywalkers. Yeah, it's happening in the background, just kind of how in the Marvel TV shows, we know there's other stuff happening in the background, but I'm still focused on what's happening in Daredevil. Let's say we know the city's going awry, but I'm focused on what's happening in that environment that's going on. So it's kind of tough to say what happens.
No, absolutely. just to like jump on what you were mentioning, and like as we were all discussing, as we were all discussing,
Let's have a good discussion.
it just made me think
gentlemen.
because it really like the thing that was tying Mando to not. I don't know, because I was gonna bring up like the whole Mandalore thing. That's kind of switching gears from the Luke stuff.
Yeah, I'll save that because I do think that's because him having the dark saber, I think, is the next step as far as, and that's the other Travis told you so. Remember, I said, I'm like, is there a possibility he ends up with this saber? And I fucking called it. But like, I think there is a chance that him, Bo-Katan, the resurrection of that planet or something, that's where he goes now. It's something like now it's a like, so he had a mission with Grogu, now he has a personal journey to find out who he is, because now he's taking off his helmet left, right, and center. I still wish he didn't take it off last week, because I think it would have been more impactful this week if he didn't.
True.
Well, I like, that was such a moment, and that moment, so I got like excited tears with Luke. This might be because I'm a father, but that moment with Baby Yoda and Grogu when he had to say goodbye and he took his helmet off, my heart sank. And that is like, it was great seeing Luke, but that was actually my favorite moment of this episode, because it was just like, it's only been 16 episodes, but it's felt like such a journey with these two, you know? And it's just like, there's been such a bond formed there, and it was just Pedro, and that's why I hope that helmet's off him more in the future. He's such a good actor, and with his brown eyes and everything, the way he sells it, just
beautiful.
That moment, like I said, Luke was great, but that was the moment I stuck with me the next night, where it's like, oh, and the score's welling up, and then Baby Yoda like hugs his leg and he says goodbye, and just like that last like La La Land like head shake to him, and then the door closes, and it's just like, how scary is that? Like, he does like, and even then, like, I think because it's CGI Luke, but like, he still doesn't ask much fucking questions. You a Jedi? Yeah. All right, go ahead, baby. Like, he just like, he go like, but like literally like now this thing that he's protected for months, we don't know how long the show's gone, it's just gone. It's not even like he's watching over somebody. It's just gone, and he won't know about potentially for years whatever happened to this child, you know? And that's where I wonder, even in the next season when we get a Mando season 3, if we could get a substantial time jump. And I could see that. Maybe not even like 5 years, but maybe a couple, to show like maybe that's where Yoda like or Grogu's have grown up a little. I don't know, but as far as the Mandalorian side, that really stuck with me. Kirklin, you had your hand up.
Oh God.
Oh, you took it away. You should have kept it up.
The same thing that happened before the cast. I had it, and then you kept talking.
I was talking about Grogu and Mando, the helmet and everything like that.
Oh, yes. Okay, thank you for reminding me. So last week when we were discussing how like cheesy and corny it was, then like, oh, life's great without the helmet. You got to take off the helmet. All these things. Like, imagine if he didn't actually take off the helmet, and then we wait a week and we kind of forget that all those like super cheesy lead ups happen, and then this super emotional moment, just like we were discussing on our last review. Go check it out if you haven't. But it was like, we want to see when he takes off this helmet. It's so symbolic to him and his cause and everything that he stands for. And like this moment, like you just laid out, Travis, like this could possibly be the last time he ever sees the child. So like, obviously, when he takes off the helmet, we wouldn't be surprised in that moment. Even if it was like, again, we saw his face last season, but like if we never saw his face and this was the first reveal, like I would be like, okay, I'm happy with this. Like this makes sense. Like this is the first time that I'm really feeling it. You know, like last time, like I don't know, with the robot. Did he really have to take off the helmet? I don't know.
No,
just
they could have wrote a
no,
way around
no,
that.
No,
but
exactly.
like, and I guess the way to save this, not save this, but for me that I headcanon it a bit better is this is the first time he's chosen to take the helmet off for like a personal reason. The first season was he had head trauma, and what was his name? IG-11 it is, right?
Mm-hmm.
He had to get to the back of his head and fix his head. This last week was because he had to get his face recognition. This was literally, I'm taking my helmet off to show my face, like just to other people. Like, and it wasn't that he was alone with Grogu. Luke was right there. Like everybody's seen this dude's face.
This is the first time Cara Dune's seen his face too, right?
Yeah, exactly.
I want to see their reactions.
Yeah, so this was a big moment. She's like, "Oh, damn."
Well, maybe he doesn't turn around. He had his back to them, so maybe he just puts his helmet back on.
They saw the reflection. No, they're all like peeking. They're all like, "Hey," and he's like, "No, this is my moment." But Taylor, what do you feel? Because obviously this is a huge kind of up in the air, and this is again, I got to credit the season because we had thought like we might not get to see this till next year, but now he's with Luke Skywalker. Where does this go? And I'll set you up with the inevitable because I've been saying it since season 1. I will state my point of why it's more jokingly, but I've always said that, oh, this little kid, he's going to get fucking desolated by Kylo Ren. It's just leading that way. But I for sure thought the Luke thing was happening. what do you think is the next step with just them? And all because we're going to talk about Mandalorian and Mandalore in a second.
With just them, it's hard for me to say. I mean, when you are you talking about like just with Mando and Grogu's stories like separated now? Is that what your question is?
Well, no, I was asking about. You could go either way. You could talk about them, or I was asking about Luke and Grogu as
Oh,
well. Like,
okay.
what is because like obviously we're in this point where he goes with him. There's a chance he just dies on that fateful night, but also they're gonna do that thing potentially of Grogu was around the whole time during the sequel trilogy, but he just wasn't around,
So
and I
that's
hate that.
that's
But
something. Yeah, the Disney era of Star Wars loves to do that with their Jedi. They love to be like, oh, he just wasn't around at that time. So
yeah, it's like where
we
the fuck was
are
he?
we're 5 years after Return of the Jedi. Kylo Ren is probably just being born around this time because I would put him just close to his 30s, the time of the sequel trilogy. So at this time, another 25 years would go by, give or take a couple, before the destruction of Luke's temple. Now
The Jedi Massacre.
that means Grogu would probably be about 70 something years old. At this point, he's probably speaking. He's probably like 20 years of being like trained by Luke, I think would do him great justice because you have Luke in his prime. He's got all this knowledge of 5 years of exploration with these Jedi temples, all these information, insight he can pass on to him. And you have Grogu, who's already capable of doing the Force healing and so much stuff that he is totally aware of. He's got that pre-existing knowledge of being at the Jedi temple. Again, I think this is me countering him surviving that fateful night. He survived one Jedi purge. I'm sure he could do it again. So,
Oh yeah, he'll have abs by then. Too.
Yeah,
He'll
have
be able
the
to do
abs.
some damage.
I think that he will just be a character that could be trained by Luke, and a part of me really thinks that they have plans for him maybe in like the next trilogy. Would not be
The
surprised.
next trilogy.
Yeah,
Wow,
I
you're
think the
booking
next
this
trilogy
out
because
far.
if you go the next trilogy,
I would double down with Taylor on this.
he
I
would
like this.
he would
I
only
like
be
where
in
you're
his
going.
like hundreds. Like he's still like 800
Yeah.
years younger than Yoda. So if you put him, he'd be like Yaddle's age, I'm pretty sure. So if you put him in the next trilogy with that older Rey, and maybe they go off to try and resurrect Ben Solo. Who knows? Like it could be some crazy shit. Like
Don't tell them my pitch. I gotta get to a point where we can direct this fucking
Yeah.
movie, and then
I
I'll
like what
bring.
you're saying though,
I gotta,
Taylor.
I got a canon fun way to bring back Ben Solo, you know. But so you like, oh man, Kyle, I also let you know if at any point private message me if you have to leave because I'm telling you this might be a long one.
Oh yeah.
Because
Yeah.
so you think there's gonna be a trilogy, Taylor? Because I thought we talked about that. I could see films, but I don't. So I think we will at some point, yes, get an episode 10, but like, would that be we're making 3 more movies? Because I feel like that really bit them in the ass this time.
Well, that's the thing. Like, again, there's a lot of speculation on Rogue Squadron, what time period that's going to take place, because
Yeah.
they're saying new era, so they could be
Grogu's the pilot.
Yeah, that could be the pilot. That could literally segue them into leading up into a new era, and they could throw in a new dark side force user, whatever they want. But I do feel like you have a character, especially a member of the species that can live up to 900 years old, that you
Yes.
could play with and have that character extend across into another like trilogy of films or something like that. I think it would be super cool to see like a council of Jedi being trained by Rey or something like that, and then you have Grogu there or something like that as one of the Jedi Knights or Masters. Like that would just be so cool. Again, we've seen now they're bringing movie characters into the goddamn TV show. They're bringing cartoon animated characters into the live action TV show. So there's nothing stopping them from bringing the live action TV show characters into the live action films. So
Well, and this is where I just got it. This is what I talk about non-spoilers of giving Filoni and Jon Favreau so much credit. When you looked in that room in the finale, you had the Mandalorian and Grogu, 2 characters they just created for this show, and cartoon. You had Bo-Katan and like Boba Fett is off elsewhere, but still you had Bo-Katan, who is an animated character. Also, we had Ahsoka a few episodes ago, right? And animated from Clone Wars, from Rebels, and then you have Luke Skywalker, who's from the movies. And it's like this whole. That's why I talk about this endgame moment of like. It's all the canons coming together. And this is the first time I can like literally say like canon fucking matters now. Like this is like, and this is why
I need to record that. I don't think I've ever.
But this is why I would always give them shit, Taylor, because it's just like they always would ignore it and always would be like, yeah, like it's kind of, but like Ahsoka literally got Grogu to Luke Skywalker. There is a connection point, and I cannot wait. Like I have a list of questions, but we are set up for Ahsoka and Luke meeting and talking, which has to happen.
That would be so cool.
Like this person who like Kirk, I'm gonna throw you in a second, but like Ahsoka, who was Anakin Skywalker's apprentice, now has a possibility to talk to his son. That is fucking like that
Your
is
father
a
was a
2-hour
real
movie.
asshole. He fucking killed all these kids.
Yeah. Oh, your dad, I totally saw it coming. Like I knew he was banging your mom on the side, but like no,
Yeah.
like that like this is the thing. Before we'd always felt that they're not going to do that. That's not going to happen. And that's the same way to me Endgame was when all this shit happened. Like they're just doing this shit and they're saying we're fucking doing it. And the second Luke Skywalker was there, and we're seeing we're seeing book characters, video game characters, cartoon characters, movie characters, new characters, all mixed up. Like this is what we want. And again, I'm begging, give us somehow even if it's animated form, I don't care. You gotta give us Ahsoka and Luke. I want to see it. There's just so much history there that like that conversation alone would be so interesting. Kirkland Patz of Geekers podcast.
I mean, kind of switching gears a little bit. I don't want to go on. What happened to Bo-Katan and Sasha Banks' like third wheel that I remember we were just all laughing about?
Very good question.
We were
He's
all
out
laughing
leading.
about
He had
in
to
that
take that.
episode.
He had to take that cruiser with all the weapons, right? He had to go deliver it to Mandalore.
Okay,
No, they watched
rally
the first
troops.
episode and they're like, let's cut this fucking
Yeah,
guy. We don't need
I
him.
100% thought they just cut him out. Like I did not remember like how that episode ended off like him because we were all like, yeah, it's pretty much just Bo-Katan and Sasha Banks and like that third guy that's just kind of there. And I just found it so funny because I forgot about him until halfway through when they were
He
in
comes
that
back
like
to the bar, they're gone.
when they were in that scene though, like waiting for Luke to get up in that room. That's when it hit me. I'm like, I totally forgot about that other character. Like, where the hell is he? They just totally wrote him off. But no, thank you, Taylor. I definitely missed that detail. Sorry to. I just had
that
to
was a big
mention that.
detour. I'm not gonna lie, Kirkland. That took us off the fucking route. But no, I was gonna say
I wanted to say it earlier. I raised my hand, but you
Oh.
just ignored me. So
you can always take notes so you don't forget Taylor Kirkland. That helps me, you know.
I don't know why
No,
you're
I-
saying my
I
name.
go
I got
live.
my notes.
I know you do. But yeah, so for my points, so like I said, I've jokingly, do I actually think Grogu is going to get killed by Kylo Ren? No. I'm going to continue to say that, and this is my recording. That is not my prediction. I'm going to say that for the next 5 years because it pisses fans off so much of like, Kylo Ren couldn't do that, blah, blah, even though they've proven in canon, Luke and Snoke and Palpatine have said he's as strong, if not stronger than Vader, and he actually brought someone back to life, something Vader could never do. So he is one of the strongest Jedis, Sith, whatever, Force users of all time. It's a proven fact. He can fucking destroy little Grogu. I don't think that's going to happen. I think Grogu is going to go on some mission or go with somebody. I know today we've talked about this. I don't think it's with Ezra and Ahsoka. I just think that's like, because the thing is, I feel like they're setting up Mando, Ahsoka, Boba Fett to eventually, they've said they're doing this big MCU event. I think that's going to be your boy Thrawn.
You don't think that that's where your crossover could happen? Ahsoka could go to the temple and be like, "Hey, I need to have one of your Padawans come with me on this adventure." And then like Luke's like, "Here, take Grogu. He's my oldest student. He's the most trained." And then they go
My only-
off.
He's still a baby. He's my old, but like, that's interesting. But I would say not. It's tough because we
Anything
don't.
can happen now.
No, I know. I'm trying to think about it in my head. I'm thinking this connected universe event they're gonna do because Kyle, I'm not sure if you know this. They're gonna have a bunch of shows cross over next year and do like a Defenders thing. So
Yeah.
my thing is, in the timeline, I don't think Grogu would still have spent enough time with Luke. I think it'll be in the next recent years, so I don't think that will happen. They'd be like, oh, he's still in training. I think that's potential that she ends up there or they meet. We don't know Ahsoka. I know Dave Filoni can say like, oh, it's not happened. She does die before Rise of Skywalker. I don't care what he says about her being a voice. Like that to me is just complete.
It's hard because they've said like it doesn't mean that she's dead. So I don't know what.
That's
to
lame
believe,
though. I
because
don't
they
want
could-
that.
They could write it. They could do a sequel series with her still alive. I don't know.
CGI'd face.
CGI
That would just be so lame though, as far as like Rey heard the voice of every dead Jedi, but alive Ahsoka somewhere sitting on a rock instead of helping on Exegol being like, I believe in you, Rey. Like, good luck. Like, no, get on a ship and fly over there. Like, I want her to be dead because it starts to cause like, to me, continuity issues. But I think that your thing you laid out about Ahsoka going to Luke could happen, but maybe not for this first event. I think they could hold us, and I just feel like Baby Yoda, I still call him that, but like getting linked up with Ezra and Ahsoka and this whole other spin-off show they're doing, I think that's a bit too choppy, and it's throwing him to a story that he doesn't need to be yet. You know, he has no stake there, especially because Ahsoka really just wrote him off of like, I don't want to train him at all. So it's not like, oh, it's not like she got pulled away or kidnapped. It's like, I don't. So that's where I feel like whatever this event is, which, like I said, I think Thrawn, your boy, is going to be the Thanos of this event. I really do. I think it's going to be about getting / taking down Thrawn, or maybe it has something to do with Mandalore. Maybe he's trying to take over Mandalore. I don't know. But I think my prediction is when the whole massacre happens, whether it's a year, a few months, Grogu will go away on some mission or go with another Jedi Master on some mission. And when they come back, it's a complete wreck and they can't find Luke Skywalker and they go off on their own. Maybe then bump me into Ahsoka, something like that. But I do not actually think Kylo Ren will kill this. And also, Taylor might like this because he's the fucking canon boy. But if you, which it's not to me the greatest comic book, but the Kylo Ren comic book, they did a 4-part issue. He actually does not kill anybody in the massacre. This is the thing in the movies they don't show is he takes out Luke and he goes away. Some Jedis go to attack him. He deflects them. Snoke, aka Palpatine, sends down a lightning bolt on the council and kills all these Jedi. And then there's this panel of Kylo Ren being like, I didn't want this. This is not what I was choosing. Stuff they just don't do in the movies, which I either I don't really like that. I would have preferred him to still massacre them, but still, I just wish in the movies they'd be like, this is the origin. This is what it is. But in canon, and if canon does matter now, he didn't actually kill these students. So it would be... I think that's even more anticlimactic if Grogu is sleeping and then a lightning bolt strikes him and just kills him. Man, that fucking sucks.
Everybody loves Baby Yoda, and that's the way he goes out.
If we're going that route, that's awful. But I don't think he is, whatever that massacre is, a part of it. And I think, like Taylor said, he could live to 900 years old. That sets up so much potential for whether it is Rey and like, again, people talk about, yeah, we all had some problems with these characters, but look at the prequels. We had problems with those. Hayden Christensen's coming back. I don't want to write off. I want to see Finn with a fucking lightsaber kicking ass. You know, I don't want to write off these characters. I want the new, like, someone made this cool image of like the new Jedi Council, and it was Rey, Finn, Ahsoka, and Cal from Jedi Fallen Order. It was just like, yeah, let's fucking do this. Like, let's just go ham and get like Avengers crossover style. And I don't like those movies all made $1 billion. They're all still super successful. I think enough people would still want to see Rey again with that yellow lightsaber. So I hope Taylor is Rey, and I think you are Rey. I don't know if he links up in our main trilogy with Rey and stuff eventually, but I don't think he dies yet. Kyle, do you think, what is the fate as far as his life or death situation? As far as in the new trilogy, we didn't obviously hear a single peep of Grogu. So are you kind of on the Taylor bandwagon as far as myself, that he's just off somewhere, which I don't like? I always feel like it's lazy that he was just missing. I feel like at some point he'd come try to help out with the First Order, but I guess not. So what do you have in your mind now that where is he somewhere in this galaxy? Or does he die on this like Jedi massacre that happened in the new sequel trilogy?
So I kind of have this weird theory happening because when Ahsoka said she couldn't train him because she felt darkness in him.
Oh no.
What if Ahsoka comes back, because how you get rid of Grogu is because he becomes darkness, and somehow training him goes on to all of that. And then she has to end
who kills Ahsoka.
Yeah.
That's why she heard her voice.
Or something related, because they did say they took the blood of Grogu, the Empire did, or the New Order, I should say.
That's right.
Yeah, so whatever clone. Yeah.
I think that is the pretty much confirmation that Grogu is how we get Palpatine back in those new movies. They use his blood to keep like cloning Snoke and everything like that. They haven't said that yet, but I think they will. But Kirklin, what do you think about that? So go ahead, Kyle. I was going to say,
because that's Taylor, or I guess and you guys, because you guys have obviously watched the Rebels and Clone Wars. Is Ahsoka just more of a single, like, going off on her own type thing? Is that why, like, when we get her, she's just like this solo lone wolf?
One, so you can start picking up all the girls at the bar. It's Ahsoka with an A at the end.
Thank
so you got
Travis.
Sorry. Sorry, everyone listening.
I'm gonna give the version because Taylor will be here for an hour, even though I talk. she was a made-up character for the Clone Wars show. They made her as Anakin's apprentice. We never met her or heard of her in any movie, but she was Anakin's apprentice. She eventually had a falling out with the Jedi Order as far as their ways, didn't agree with them, and kind of went off and just did her own thing. And that's where she was. And she bumped into like other Jedi. She's helped out. She's always been a good guy, but she left the Order. And then when Order 66 happened, she like escaped out of there. So she's kind of been she's kind of been a lone wolf for the past like few decades.
Yeah. Okay. That's all I needed to know. But yeah, that's my theory.
Kirklin, yeah. What where do you think you're ending up with as far as Grogu, and what do you think about a dark side Grogu? Because Kyle's right, they have been hinting this, like he did the Force choke, which Luke does too, but still.
You'll have old man Luke waking him up in the middle of the night, like holding his lightsaber over Grogu, cut him down.
But this time he actually does it, unlike Ben Solo. He's like, well, it worked with Grogu, but what about you, Kirklin?
Yeah, no, I was really liking what Taylor was pitching. I think a character of this significance that's not just gonna be written off like behind the curtains or anything like that. Timer's up, Travis. I don't think, just for how big of like a pop culture thing he's become, like everyone knows who this character is. Even if you like haven't seen Mandalorian, it's like, oh, who's that cute new like Star Wars character, you know? Like Yoda but cuter, you know, like just you can imagine what, I don't know. But I don't know why I'm going ranting off Baby Yoda. But anyways, I just think he's too important to just write off that way. I think people would just be super furious if they did it. And also just like how long potentially he could live. I feel like he'll be around for like, honestly, like all these, like, I'm just trying to picture like what they want to do with like another trilogy or whatnot. I feel like he could be there the entire way plus some.
Yes.
Like he just has so much
the next 6
life
movies
potential.
like Yoda was.
Yeah, like he 100%
He's like the
could be.
Chewbacca or droids. He's a CGI puppet character that they can use and just have someone voice. They don't have to,
exactly.
you know, like same thing. Like I love Anthony Daniels, but when he passes away, you can still use someone doing a C-3PO voice, and that's where with him already being or only being this age, the potential's there. That's the only strike I think you have against your theory, Kyle, is that like because he's so like young that like turning him bad, it's like, okay, he's a villain that would probably get killed off really quick, right? So that's the only thing I think that they do want to keep him around. And plus they want to, even though they probably would sell some dark side Grogu toys, they probably would actually, but Kirkland Pats our Geek First podcast,
yeah,
with his physical hand instead of the Skype one.
Just to like add on to the dark side Baby Yoda theory that Kyle is pitching here, I feel like Disney and whoever's running Star Wars right now, or whoever will be when they eventually make this next trilogy or whatever they're doing, I feel like they try to just do things that we've never seen before, and they're like, oh, what would it be like to have like a dark side Yoda? Like there's definitely been that topic. I feel like in some sort of boardroom meeting or something.
They actually showed it off a little bit in the Clone Wars because they showed Yoda face off against like his dark side inner self, and it was like Yoda crawling on all fours, like talking like treak like creepily and everything. Like, it was sketchy.
Like a gremlin.
Yeah, legit.
Damn. Yeah. See, like I'm interested in that, and if I'm interested in it, there's more people out there that would be, I don't know, open to certain things like that. But for that specific character, I think I would have to agree with what Travis laid out. I feel like it's just too significant and too young to do that shift. I feel like if anything, it would be later on in his life. But man, that guy's gonna be living for a long time if Yoda lived, you know, around 800 years.
Grogu's gonna go find Broom Kid in Last Jedi.
Oh no!
Start his own Jedi temple.
Forgot about Broom Kid.
So Taylor, because you're the big, you know, you got me all this animated stuff and whatnot. You know, for a while I've been pitching, and I don't know if this would happen, but I've been saying what they need to do is the Clone Wars version of the sequel trilogy. They need to do the adventures of Luke, Han, and Leia, and about like what they did after 6, and then the eventual birth of Ben Solo, and have him as the apprentice. I've been wanting that for a while. Now, I feel like I don't know if that's less likely or more likely with Grogu being attached, because like you could add him, but I feel like with Grogu, I know people are going to take this as a shot. I don't mean it to be, but do they want to put Grogu in just an animated show? I feel no. They want to use him for big live action stuff. They could, and maybe they do the adventures of the Skywalker family, and it's about, oh, Ben Solo and Grogu, they're having fun together before things go bad. But the next time, when we see Grogu next time, where will it be, Taylor? Like with Luke, is like they're going to have to answer that eventually. And I think that's the good thing with this. lots of people complained, and I get it too, as far as like the sequel trilogy. We still in the movies, they never actually told us how the First Order came back. They did it in books and comics, but in the movies, they never explained how this happened. So the movies, not so much, but canon, these ones, they seem to, like Clone Wars, like to explain things. Sometimes over-explain, but still. What do they do with Grogu and Luke as far as like a content situation? Could you see it in an animated show, or do you think it has to be live action?
I could easily see an animated show. Again, Disney taking live action characters, putting into the animated series, it's not an issue for them. They took Poe Dameron and threw him right into Star Wars Resistance. So again, it's something that they could do. In this sense, I 100% feel like we're gonna see Grogu in some shape or form in Mandalorian season 3, and maybe just like a small way after he goes through like the tribulations of Mandalore and taking that back. I honestly, a part of me feels like, what if they were to go to Luke and say, "Hey, we need your help. Like we know where you are. You're a Jedi. Like all this stuff. Like, are you willing to help us?
Jedi.
You're a Jedi. Like, are you
I'm
willing?
a Jedi.
Are you willing to help us with what we're trying to do? Get Mandalore back? Like, we're trying to fight off these Imperials, all this stuff." And I feel like I could see Luke, and maybe that's when you bump into Grogu once more and stuff like that. But again, them throwing him into an animated series, I think you're right in the fact that they should cover the adventures of Luke, Leia, and Han post Return of the Jedi. I think it's definitely a must, because again, that 30-year difference, that's a lot of time. So the only coverage we really get into their stories is literally the campaign in Star Wars Battlefront 2. You get to see that Leia is on Naboo leading the resistance there. You get to see Han Solo is up at Maz's castle, and you get to see Luke is exploring one of like Sidious's like abandoned Sith vaults, finding like artifacts. Like, it's crazy. So there's so much potential there for their stories and their paths. So an animated series for sure. You know, you have the Bad Batch. That's a direct sequel to Clone Wars. So Rebels has turned into live action now. I think we need another animated series.
Oh, I agree, and I'm gonna tell you why after this ad break. So the thing is, why I've always been pitching this show is because you can do these characters young, and you don't need like Harrison Ford. Carrie Fisher's no longer with us, like Mark Hamill. The animated show, that it's all fixed, and it's not going to look like creepy CG Luke. It'll be like, oh, very fine tuned, everything like that. And like, there is, like, I've always said that. I mean, to agree, there's so much potential. Like, even an episode, like, we didn't get to see the other side. Imagine Han and Leia finding out about what happened that night of the Jedi Massacre, and Ben Solo, and in their mind, was the cause of it. And like, imagine, because the thing is, in canon, as far as we know, Taylor, like after that night, that's when Luke just left and no one talked to him again, right? So we wouldn't get that, but I imagine like the Harrison or the Han Solo we know, like, because it led to their divorce, I feel like he would just be furious, because remember, that's one of the only things they've set up, that he didn't really want Ben to go with Luke. He still wanted to keep him, but Leia was like, no, like, let Luke train him, everything like that. He's like, I shouldn't have sent him away. So like, imagine that night where it's just like, that's like a episode of Han and Leia finding out and just being like, I told you shouldn't have gone. Like, there's so much like deep stuff they could get into with these characters that you can't now because they're gone, but that's why this animated form would be perfect. I do think we will see Grogu again in Mandalorian. I don't know for sure if it's season 3. I think you could be right, but I think as long as that show goes, we will see him at some point. I think you have to, even if they reconnect, if it's down the line, even if it's Grogu finding him, whatever it be. I don't think it's the end of them, but I do think it's a little less than. So do we have anything to add to more on, which I'm sure we'll talk again about Luke and Grogu, but anything specifically? Because I was going to jump off to Mando and Mandalore, but anything specific about Grogu, Luke, stuff like that, how Ben Solo is going to massacre him?
I got one thing. When
I want to say this before I forget. I hope they make Luke and Ahsoka fuck one time too, because you know what? Let's do it.
She's a flirt. She'd see Luke like swinging around and be like, "Yo, look at this Jedi." You know,
swinging around.
Oh, there's a lot.
You're
of,
a Jedi.
oh,
I'm a Jedi. Your dad trained me.
There's a lot of fan art of Ahsoka and Anakin like shipping, so I could totally see it. Like Ahsoka's like, Luke, you're the right age, you know.
That's why I brought it up. They're like the same age, which is kind of weird because like I know Luke Hamill or Mark Hamill as Luke Skywalker is supposed to be younger, but the CG still made him look like 40. So it's like Ahsoka's like 40. So it's like, but no, I'm down. Let's do it. Let's ship it. I'm shipping. What's the ship name?
That's a tricky one because she's got a wacky name, like Asuk.
Asuk. There we go. Taylor, what was your point gonna be?
I just wanted to shout out that when Luke does arrive, seeing Grogu just perk up, like his ears kind of like go up, and that whole sequence of him putting his hand on the monitor was just so brilliant.
I gotta on that same topic though. Why did the Dark Troopers just like Jedi's in the area? Like they're
I think they sense
robots.
a threat
Yeah, but
because
they're
like
robots.
but they landed down, and then when he takes one out, I think it's like one, there's an enemy landing and that wasn't because there are targets on there, right? So the second they feel something
Stupid
like
AI. It was stupid
Maybe.
AI.
Yeah,
The
oh,
target
yeah,
was in the
100%.
room. They were almost through the door.
well, that's why they got
And
rid
then
of
the
the
other ones
droids,
are just like, do we
remember?
just wait for him to get here, or let's just finish the job? No, you
That's
had
why
a
they got rid of the
job.
dro- You took the job.
That
But-
um
Go ahead, Taylor.
that scene again, that hallway scene again, when you parallel alongside Rogue One scene, you have this force user so powerful storming down this hallway, and you have these people fighting for hope. They have their beliefs, their emotions. They have so much like so much will to just survive, and their goal is just to get this little piece of hope, these plans, through that door and get it out there for the galaxy to be safe. And then you have the same scene where you just have like the droids you could look at as being like a symbol, and the symbology behind it. Like the Empire is just this hollow machine that's just operating, and they have no sense of anything good. Their goal is just to just cause control and chaos, and they're just trying to break through this door to kill the other people on the side out of like for fear and for destruction. And they turn around, and it's just that equivalency I think is very neat, how you have those two parallels.
Yeah, that's a good
Yeah.
observation.
Yeah, no, I didn't think about that. It is like the different side of each coin. I will say, because we didn't see them too much in those 2 episodes ago, I'm not a fan of the Dark Troopers, and we're talking about CG. They did not look good this whole episode. The way they
Really?
moved, the way that the way they punched, they looked so fake. They never looked like they were in the same scene as anybody, and they were so shiny, so glossy. They moved like Lego. They moved like Rock'em Sock'em robots, and it took me out of it. And I think that CG was bad too. I think they should have just focused on a few of them instead of a whole platoon
Wow.
and blow their budget. So yeah, I didn't like that. Kirklin Patzer of Geekverse podcast.
I still think they look like Zurg. Is that his name from
A
Toy
little,
Story?
but worse.
The eyes for sure. They have probably the best theme, other than Mando.
Oh,
though.
it popped
Oh my
off
god!
in this
When it popped
episode.
off, I remember I was going off about it the first time, and I was on Spotify. I haven't been able to find their theme yet, but holy shit, it's just so unique and so.
I think they'll release
So
all the
weird.
tracks now because the back half's done. So I think they'll
Oh, okay,
release
yeah.
the second half of the season soon.
Oh, but it played a couple times in this episode, and it's just so. Oh, it got me so hyped. But I don't feel strongly for or against their looks. I feel like I'm still unsure. I got to see like more to really get, or maybe just rewatch the episode and really get a grasp for it. Because the first time we saw them, I thought it was really badass, just paired with the awesome theme. And I mean, they weren't really in it that much. They just zoomed down, grabbed Grogu, and went back up. Like it was pretty quick. In this one, you did get to see them more. I do see the comparison to Rock'em Sock'em Robots. Like it's very, yeah, very blocky. I laughed so hard though. As soon as he just opened the door and they all just flew away, I'm like, they're literally like the Empire's like trump card. Like why would they just have a door that just shoots them off into space? That's like probably billions of dollars, trillions of dollars, whatever it is, credits, whatever their money is on these robots. He just
I was
got
glad
rid
it
of all of
showed
them.
that they could fly back because when
No,
that happened, I was
100%,
like,
100%, yes.
really,
Originally-
this huge weapon that you've created can just be pulled, a lever can be pulled, and they're gone. It
Yeah.
was gonna be a negative to me until like they heard the beeping. They're like, oh no, I was like, oh thank goodness,
Yeah.
because I get
Thank
it, the Empire
goodness.
makes mistakes, but it was just like that was such an egregious one of like I can't buy this. This
Well,
is
it's
a little
like-
too much.
It's like they're like the huge Death Star, but you know, you shoot one blaster bolt and it'll blow up the entire.
But
It was
remember
kind of one of
Kirkland,
those moments.
remember Kirkland, Rogue One made that cannon that
Oh,
was
right.
Galen Urso went in there and made a design. It wasn't a mistake. They fucking stupid.
Taylor, are you pumped that Rogue One has never gotten so much hype on as like a single episode, other because we just keep shouting out that Darth Vader scene?
Oh yeah, absolutely. I do.
That's your movie.
I want to piggyback on what you said about that score. Again, like I'm opposite you guys. I think the Dark Troopers looked fantastic. I think they looked really, really nice. That score though, when they were booting up Kirkland, that theme, it's goosebumps.
So like creepy and
It
eerie.
is.
Yeah.
It's so like
So
it was like
good.
the wub
Ludwig,
ones.
man. So good.
Yeah.
So good.
I'll jump on with Taylor as well too. I thought the stormtroopers, the dark troopers were really good. Even like with the theme, it's like 2011 dubstep music back again. And it's
Yeah.
like, what is happening?
Like,
This
actually.
is so dope. But yeah, no, amazing.
Cool.
Daft Punk's in one of the Empire's cubicles. It's time to get lucky, Kyle. So now let's talk about.
Hang on, can I just say one thing, Kyle? Can you flip your camera up because you're like cut off at your nose?
Oh
There
yeah,
you go.
I was like this. I'm just trying to just moving
It's
everywhere.
slowly
you know?
going down, and then it's just his cock for the last hour. Of the podcast.
Just no pants on. This whole
You
time.
know, yeah, he just
Well,
diddling
actually,
himself. Yeah, he just diddling himself, has no idea. This is not the only fans, Kyle. So let's talk about because we still got so much. Let's talk about Mando and Mandalorian. So Moff Gideon, I loved their little interaction because for a while, like Giancarlo Esposito is just like. That's how you say his name. It's not Esposito. It's Esposito.
Really?
We
Yeah,
already
Chris
talked
told
about
me that.
this. Remember,
Yeah.
Kirklin?
But even he said like now I
No, I
just gotta
don't.
go with Esposito because people just call me that. But I'll say Giancarlo. I love that scene because he's such a good actor. He had me convinced that he was actually gonna just part ways with Mando. I thought for sure he was like, you know what, like I'm
I
not.
didn't buy it.
All I need is the blood. Well, good for you. All I need is the blood, and I'll part ways. And then the fight scene happened. I think it was pretty good. I know Giancarlo before. That seems like it's one of the best lightsaber. It was a good one, Giancarlo. Don't get too excited there. Like it wasn't fucking like Return of the Jedi, Revenge of the Sith. So let's pump the brakes. You're not Breaking Bad anymore, sir. But I did really like it. And in this moment, we learn, and would obviously, Taylor, this is going to be a controversial fact, but the whole episode, Bo-Katan is saying, you know, you can take him alive, whatever. I just need him to surrender to me. So lo and behold, we learn that we see Mandalorian walking back with Moff, and he's cuffed, and he has the Darksaber out, ignited. And she goes, "What happened?" And you go, "Oh, well, I found blah, blah, blah." And then he goes, Moff goes, "That's not what she's talking about." And then we learn that in order to rule Mandalore, like we've stated previously, you have to have control of the Darksaber, but you have to win it in a battle of contest as far as dueling or something like that. Which I love that Mandalorian just walks up. He's just like, "I yield." Like he wants nothing to do with this. I said to Taylor last night, I'd honestly just like throw on the ground and be like, "You can have it if you want. I'm fucking going. Like this ship's gonna blow up with it, so you may as well."
Would
just
you really
take
say that? I feel like you
Yes,
would take
in that
it.
moment.
No, you would take it. You're greedy.
no,
You're like, this looks cool.
I would. Travis Snell would.
Yeah.
You know, best
Yeah.
podcaster, best podcast machine would take it. But Mandalorian, he's not wanting power. This character, Din, is not that type of character. So, and he's not even wanting to lead. But I did. This is why I made the comparison when we talked about it. I feel like they're making him like an Aragorn type of character, where like he doesn't want the burden. Or like Jon Snow, I don't want it. Like they're gonna make him that type of character where like he's the best to lead, even though he doesn't want it. And I think that could be his end story. I've said this. I think he could be ruling Mandalore at some point in the future, and that could be his storyline. So that's where I see this going. I think this was the little seeds, and that's where we talk about what's his story next. I think it's just not really Mandalore yet, but it's bringing more of Mandalorians together. I still think that one from last season alive, and what a great shot it was, like when him and Boba walk in the bar together, then see two other Mandalorians, just like, this is fucking awesome. Like, and that's what I think next season will be like. Let's find as many Mandalorians as we can, and let's rebuild. Kirklin Patrick, Geek First Podcast. Hand up as always.
Just with that last comment about like the 4 Mandalorians, you know, I had that thought when
Mando's
they were
walking to a bar.
I had that thought when they're in like the back room. I guess it'd be the bridge, just waiting for Luke in there, because it kind of showed them all, and then you just see like the Mandalorian helmets, and I did have that thought in the moment. I'm like, this is so cool. Just like, I remember back in the day when I saw like Boba, and then it was cool to see Django. It was just like, oh, it's so cool to see like a different color scheme, you know, with that helmet and everything. But man, now we're in a world where we're just seeing so many of them. My question though for you guys, was it not stated like originally that they had to win it through a duel? Like, is that new information for you? Or
That's tricky. So if you look at if you look at the Clone Wars, every scenario with the Darksaber, it's literally been won in combat, and whoever has claimed it in combat becomes a new ruler, essentially. Now, when you get to Rebels, you have a character like Sabine Wren, who won the Darksaber in combat, but she gave it to Bo-Katan and relinquished her power and her control over it and her title, and Bo-Katan took it. And That's where I'm kind of confused. So as to what
Yeah.
happens, maybe this is like some new title or role. Like maybe Bo-Katan decreed, like if someone wants to rule Mandalore, they got to take it from me, and she lost it, so it kind of backfired on her. But
Well, and that means like because we still don't actually have that story because Moff Gideon says like, oh, this once belonged to Bo-Katan. We don't have the story of how he acquired it. We just know that he got it. And she said like he took something from me. But if we're going in this route, does this mean that he beat her in combat? Like
no, I think
that-
he like snuck into like her
Yeah.
her hotel
Some
room
Imperial.
or something.
her hotel room. Hey, do you know where Bo-Katan's staying? I'm an old friend. I just want to catch up. You know,
It's like the
she's a
motherfucker
bounty
Jones
hunter. I'm
story.
part of the Jedi.
Put my
you
hand
know?
into her
Yeah.
wallet, and
Into
I
her
took her
into her
darksaber.
purse. Got the darksaber.
And I really fucked her over. That's why they call me motherfucker Darksaber Jones. Go ahead, Kirk. What do you think's
just-
happening with Mando?
Oh, okay. That's not what I was gonna go.
Okay, well, go
I,
ahead.
I was gonna make one
Huh?
one quick comment on Moff Gideon fighting Mando with the darksaber. His he was very aggressive in his swings. I agree with you, Travis. I don't think it's the best lightsaber duel I've ever seen in my life, but it was pretty good. His movements were just so aggressive. It really reminded me of Kylo actually, and how wild and just mean his swings can be. Specifically in episode 7 when he's fighting Rey in the snow. I'll do a side by shot. I'll do a side by side shot. You'll agree with me.
Just to add on to Kirkland, I was talking to a mate before this. Watching
mate.
the.
An
Fuck
Aussie.
off.
sorry.
Fuck
Oh,
off. A mate. He's been in Australia for just a year, so now he's saying go Australia.
a year and a half, but yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway, so I was talking to a friend, and he was saying that they went through 4 props of the dark saber during that sequence there, just
Oh,
because
really?
they kept breaking it.
Carlo kept stealing them. He was saying he was getting in character. Oh, I'm taking this sword. One of my
Yeah.
favorite moments is when Mando had the staff behind him and he kicked it, backwards, kicked it into Moff Gideon. It was super fucking cool. But that staff worked out, but it still looked not easy to use. I definitely would prefer using the dark saber over this very heavy long spear, But
I was
Yeah.
impressed. His hand-to-hand combat with it. Obviously it's got good choreography, so that it's eye candy for us. But I'm man, this guy he can definitely use that spear. That was impressive.
Oh,
It was heating up too. Whenever the darksaber,
Yeah,
on it was
I like
oh,
that
that's gonna
effect.
melt.
That was really cool.
Kirkland, what I asked you before, what do you
Yeah.
think is Mando's journey now? Because we talked about with no Grogu. Are you on
Yeah.
the team of is this the end of a show, or do we continue forward? Where do you think he's going?
Yeah, so I mean, the Mandalore, just them talking about it, that it seems like that's kind of where it would naturally go, especially with Bo-Katan kind of. Was it in the bar when she mentioned once this is all over, your ship's ours? I thought that was quite the claim to just take Slave One. I'm geez, Boba's just gonna give it up. All right. Seems like at the end of the end credit scene, maybe he doesn't need a ship anymore. He's got a palace. So
I don't think Taylor, you have a confused look. Did you hear that line that Kirkland was talking
I
about?
don't remember that line
No.
whatsoever.
No, I don't
This is
remember
some
that
weird
line.
headcanon. Kirkland's
Okay, I'm
created.
gonna pull it up.
I think she was just saying that they would
vividly.
retake Mandalore and stuff like that. I think, but I love that shade thrown at Boba. You're not a real Mandalorian, and he's just
That was a
"Nah."
great scene.
He's just
I've heard
yeah.
your voice. I've heard millions of your voice. Holy fuck, the shade.
Yeah, and then
That
then
was
when
really
he's
cool.
yeah, and it's the last one you'll hear, and
Yeah.
it's just oh, okay, I've given not tons of crap, but Filoni and Jon Favreau have definitely taken Boba Fett, and they are every 10-year-old who ever want Boba Fett to survive, and that's what they've done. But this is when I was officially on board. I was fuck yeah, they're just making him such a badass, even though he lost to a blind Han Solo in Return of the Jedi. It's when he's this will be the last one you ever heard. It's just this episode they just went for it, and it was just and then Sasha Banks kicked his ass a little bit, and then they
Yo, that's some WWE moves happening out there.
she did a tornado DDT. I fucking hate when they have wrestlers do wrestling moves in the shows. This is just why is she doing this in Star Wars? Why is she doing a tornado DDT?
Hey,
A tornado
worked.
DDT.
She got the upper hand.
It did. It took out Boba. For people mainstream, what you do is you put a person's head in between your arms, you run up a wall or a turnbuckle, and you take the head and you slam it in the ground. That's what she did to Boba in this one.
Well,
She's a
she
jetpack,
used the jetpack too with that too,
so-
right? That,
Yeah, you
that
do
made
that
it
in
very
wrestling too.
Mando-like.
You
I-
do that in wrestling.
I know. I just always every time someone's in wrestling, it's just oh, they got it. Anytime The Rock was in a movie first, he was he always had to do the rock bottom. It's
Okay, the line is, in exchange we will keep that ship to retake Mandalore. Is she talking about Moff's ship or Slave One?
I think
No,
Moff
That was
ship.
Moff's ship. Yeah, I'm pretty
Okay,
sure.
I
Boba
definitely
wouldn't agree
thought
to that.
she was talking about Boba's ship and in the moment. So
Yeah.
I was just like, wow, that's okay. They're just gonna agree to that.
Boba's
Like if I
like,
was
"What the
Boba, I'd be like, fuck that. This is my
That's my
father's
dad's
ship.
ship.
Yeah.
You took my armor, and now you want
Yeah,
to
you go
take my
take the
ship.
jetpack as well. Like, fuck.
Yeah. He just has the helmet. That's it. And he's like, okay,
Uh,
I got my dig.
So yeah, my thoughts on where we're going with this. It definitely seems like the show's kind of leaning in. The Mando is not just a regular Mando, like he's really gonna be the one. I remember when I really, and again, I don't really know too much about Bo-Katan and that character, but I remember when we first saw her in this season, I was getting vibes. I'm like, man, there's gonna be some sort of conflict. It's gonna be her versus Mando, and I'm doubling down, honestly.
That's your Kirkland told you. No, because
Yeah,
that look she gave him.
she was
like,
pissed. Yeah.
well, yeah, and to me, the look she gave is like, I have to kill this motherfucker now. I'm like, no, but you don't have to kill him. Like, so, like, what? That's the only thing. It's like, it's such a barbaric way of deciding who's king, because it's like, what consequences as a battle? Like, couldn't Mandalorian just say, "Let's fight"? She punches him, he drops the saber. He's like, "Oh, you won." Like, what is
No,
a actual
that would
like
work.
that's where it gets a little like, I don't know. Like they'll have to explain this when we get to it. Taylor, go ahead. Taylor
Well,
Geek first podcast.
it's not necessarily like you have to kill them. Like the people that have been evil, that have taken the dark saber for their benefit and to control
Maul.
Mandalore, yeah, especially Maul. Like they do it by means of killing, and as far as I'm aware, like if you're defeated, you can clearly yield. And I think that was something that Pre Vizsla was like. He was too prideful to do such a thing, but I think it definitely was an option. And I think even Bo-Katan at the time was like, why don't you yield? You could like. And that's what obviously splintered it apart. But I would totally. Sorry, go ahead.
No, you go ahead. You finish your sentence.
I totally could see, like you said, Travis. They just like put your dukes up and just punch me, and he goes down. It's like, okay, I yield. Here you go.
But this is what I agree with Kirkland. I feel like they were setting up to be a bigger conflict, like the way she was looking to stand off, and then right before he was like, "Here, I'll just give it to you," and she didn't answer, and that's when everything was going to shit. So it was like legitimately like they're saving it for next season and everything like that. So it's just like, I feel like they were trying to make it a bigger deal than she still wouldn't take it if he could just be beating easily. So I don't.
And to
I don't
jump
know.
on that, and to jump on that as well too. Like he did say, "Well, I have to fight you. I'll just yield," and he's like, "No, that's not the way it goes." So to say that she can't accept the yield, even if they had a punch too, he's like, "Oh, I yield." Like, well, obviously he can't because he already just tried to give it away like that. So
Yeah.
I think I'm going to go with Travis on this. I think it is going to be a huge conflict in kind of going back like now we've talked a little bit more where I didn't think anything was going to happen if they were going to do a season 3. But like if now it's like, well, Mandalore, like this whole setting this whole thing up, and I agree with Travis.
Yeah.
Kirkland.
Yeah, so just going off that look, Bo-Katan just getting pissed off like that. I also feel like what we could see in season 3 is more people see Din as a leader. They're like, wow, this guy is the guy that got Darksaber from Moff Gideon. Like, maybe this guy is the chosen one, and then like maybe that'll just
Aragorn.
Yeah, no, exactly. And then Moff Gideon will be the fucking steward of Gondor, or not Moff
Sing
Gideon,
me a
sorry,
song.
Bo-Katan.
He's eating those tomatoes.
So like,
Sing to me, Bo-Katan.
I could really see, them being split off. Maybe like going that route where it's not so much directly like our Mando Din is like, yeah, I'm taking over the throne, like I'm big dick in town now. it'll be like I keep getting these fucking names mixed up. It's pissing me off. Anyways, Bo-Katan, I feel like she'll just get more jealous of like maybe the attention that Mando's getting there. Again, that's going off my theory that I feel like there'll be some conflict between those two.
Well, that's the curious thing because like her character from all like that I've seen, again, they can change her, they can write her however they want in this show. She's never been essentially like the jealous type. She's just been like for the people of Mandalore and like restoring order to the planet. So again, like her wanting to just go full blown kill Din Djarin, they could write it that way, they could do whatever they want. But from what I've seen of her character and everything, it doesn't make sense. Like I felt like in that scene, she felt not like super pissed off, but very guilty because she's seen his position on all of this, and I feel like they're gonna look at it a different route, but they're still gonna have that tension because he obviously doesn't understand the level of respect that is associated with this. Where to her, it's her religion, it's everything. So there will be that tension.
And then maybe like him just being like, here, like I don't even want this, like just take it. Like maybe that's showing disrespect, and maybe she's getting pissed off by that.
That's
You know,
true.
like
I
again,
took it as pissed off because even when she walks in, when they walk in, she's like, "What happened?" Like angrily, like she really wanted to do it, and like it could just be a miscommunication. But this is the thing, like Sarah, we don't know canon-wise what happened, sir, right?
Mhm.
So we don't know, and this is the thing where you say, "Oh, this is the way she was," but where did we just talk about Luke Skywalker?
Well, they didn't show her get
Now-
back up. They just showed her get shot, obviously in the Beskar, but they didn't show her stand back up. They just
Yeah, they
kept her on
did.
the ground. Did
I
they?
watched a second time. Yeah,
Oh,
because
okay.
I was when Moff got up and shot her, I thought they killed her off right there, and I was like, oh fuck, people are gonna be pissed. Like, like they introduced this fan favorite character from the cartoon, and then like Mosh is like boom, boom, boom. I did like how he did that. Tried to shoot Baby Yoda, and then tried to kill himself. He had a full-on plan there. It didn't go well at all. He achieved none of it. But I did look because after the first watch, I was like, did she not get up? Did they just gloss over her death? But when it's that last shot of Din like giving the head nod to Luke and Grogu, she is standing up again. So she's still alive, and or at least not damaged too bad. So like we were talking about Luke though, in this, look at Return of the Jedi from Last Jedi, Luke. A lot of things can change. We don't know when she lost that dark saber, right? It's been like 5 years since, or when was Rebels? We don't know when she because the Ahsoka timeline can mess up.
Rebels ends 2 years before A New Hope.
So let's say but I was talking about the flash forward they do with Ahsoka. Remember that?
Yeah. Well, that's at least 5 years after Episode 6.
But like, cause I haven't caught up to Rebels. They just show Ahsoka in that, right? They don't show Sabine in that.
They show Sabine.
Or sorry, not Sabine. Sorry, Bo. Fuck, there's
No,
so many.
it's
Like,
just Ahsoka and Sabine.
so that's what I'm saying is there's 5 years. We don't know how soon she could have lost that darksaber. Let's say she loses it year 1, and then it's been like 4 years since she had it, and it's in her grasp, and then this fucking guy who just walks into set takes it, not like literally, but like just Mando gets it. We could see her start to be driven, not mad, but that sort of way of just like she's been so obsessed with this and was in her grasp, and then Mandalorian got in the way because she was trying to help out, got in the way. And I'm not saying they will make her villainous, but that option is there. Look at Game of Thrones. They did that lots of times. The characters started one way and then they did a complete turn. We had someone like Jaime Lannister who was at one point next to Joffrey, the most dog shit character, and then did a complete 180. That could be her where, yeah, she's on our team now, but look at the history of Mandalorian Taylor. How many times do they try to come together and then they split apart? Different factions, they fight, and he's already from a different faction that is not with them. So I could easily see them, a conflict being bigger. Maybe it's not they're going to go to like killing each other, but it is going to be violent and they might not trust each other. And even then, it could be Bo. Bo could take that. Maybe that's why she's not with Ahsoka or Sabine or anything like that. And she has this new Sasha Banks one, who already Sasha Banks has like an attitude of like, don't fuck with me. Maybe they will take a more of the bad guy route. We don't know, or just the antagonist route. I'll say that. I think it's in the ballpark.
Could you imagine if Luke just showed up there and took out Gideon and took the Darksaber? Just so.
Oh,
like,
he's just
crazy that'd
rocking
be.
both.
Yeah,
Yeah.
green and black. Oh.
So then I have a question then. So wasn't it earlier in the season where Bo-Katan was like, when Mando was like, where did you guys come from? Bo-Katan's like, oh, like we've not like Mando's like we do something else. Like he's like, well, this is the way. He's like, no, this isn't the way. Like you think it's the way.
I don't
but
understand what you're talking about.
Wasn't it like earlier in this?
When
No,
they're
it's
talking about the ideology of taking the helmets off and stuff like
Yeah,
that.
exactly. Yeah.
This is the way. This
Yes.
isn't the way. This is the way.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm trying to remember like the exact scene. I could just picture it in my mind. Sorry, but like, how does that then go to effect of like maybe that's the difference of what's going on because he, grew up with this certain, I guess perspective of what the Mandalorian is, and obviously she has another understanding of what the Mandalorian should be.
I think it will play into because I was wrong. I thought eventually he would just be more going to her side because he keeps taking this helmet off and everything. But maybe like the people have wanted how someone should be like a gray Jedi, like people wanted. That's why Rey and Ren to team up because it's like the light and the dark. Maybe he finds a way to use them both, what he grew up from and what she has, because like this whole like you can't take your helmet off. Maybe he's like we should ditch that, but then there's things we should. So I think he might try to find some way in the middle to bring them both together. But I think it will definitely cause a barrier, even though he is starting to be loose with that, because it is just like he took his helmet off now. Yeah, he can put it back on and everything like that. But I do again, one as a character, I think that's always been the progression of him taking that helmet off more. And two, I just want to see Pedro Pascal more. I want to see him in these fighting scenes. I and maybe it's like he's a busy guy. He's a bigger star, so he might have time. But he's always sound like he loves doing this. So I do want to see him in this more in action scenes. So, but I do think you're right that the ideologies have already caused a problem, but they still could in the future because we don't know. There could still be more of Mandalorian's old crew or old what are they Coven together somewhere, right? So that could cause an issue. Anything else on Mando? Oh, go ahead. Anything else on Mando, Mandalore? We talked about Bo. We talked about Moff a little. They took him in alive, so that'll be interesting. He did that, I guess, as a favor to Cara Dune, but I was like, you got to kill this guy, dude. Like, you shouldn't. But I get why he didn't, because Cara's like, I need him alive. I need him alive. I will mention, I did not like the opening scene of this show of those two with the Doctor and the two Imperial guys. Those guys were overacting right big time. This was like the, hey, I get to be in a Star Wars. I'm going to go for it. To me, it was way too much. And I also didn't like that. To me, this wasn't really Cara Dune-centric episode. So the whole like, oh, you got the Alderaan tier. Oh, you lost millions of people. And
That's
then she...
not what you say. Like, if you want to live, that's the last thing you say.
It just felt like the dialogue was not well written. I didn't feel like it was well acted. And this moment of like talking about Cara Dune losing people in Alderaan, it just felt very random. It didn't get tied back, and at first I thought, oh, is this going to come again? No, it just shows she's still mad about losing people in Alderaan. It's like, well, I could have told you that. Like, that's clear. So I felt like the beginning, other than getting the Doctor, was kind of pointless. But everything that Giancarlo did in this episode, I liked. And from an acting point of view, I'm happy he's alive to see what else he can do. Taylor, there's a button you can raise your hand for.
Yeah, but Kirklin doesn't do the button. He does his finger. So
he does the button.
Is he really? I haven't seen him do the button. So now we were this whole time wondering about, obviously, like, do you have to kill your opponent to take the Darksaber? But I think we just kind of got the answer as well, because Bo-Katan basically stated, like, you can do whatever you want with him and take him afterwards. Yeah. I just need him to yield to me. So now what's the difference?
She said surrender, not yield.
Surrender, yeah. So then you would think that Mando could just be like, I surrender to you, like whatever that entails.
But that surrender is like you've been beaten
Take
in combat.
me. I surrender
to
you.
Yeah, he just strips down. But like, I guess yield is the same thing. Like, I don't know. I think the unfortunate thing is they have to be careful, because I think they did it just to create drama, because like you said, Taylor, they got to explain in canon there's literally someone handing it over to her, so they got to be careful. They can't, like, this is my problem sometimes when we've talked about this before. It's like the novelization of Last Jedi contradicting the movie, and then they go, well, the movie's the one that matters. They got to be careful, especially because it's these two, John and Dave. I feel like they should be tight on that. So maybe they will say after she wanted to strictly go back to that rule, which is like, okay, fine. But it is still like, if the dude doesn't want it, he doesn't want it. Like, how, like, does he just have to go in the street and try to lose a fight? Like, he's just like, fight me. Like, what does he do? Like, it's just like, it's a kind of, I don't know, an eye-rolling rule in a sense, but I get why they do it, because it's dramatic and it's sci-fi and medieval. So, yeah.
I'll never not think that Doctor is Taylor. After we mentioned it, like in season 1 review at one point, every time I see him on screen,
just gives up all their secrets. He's got all of these dark troopers hooked up with batteries, 2-minute times to boot up, like the schematics.
That's hilarious.
A couple more things just before we change topics. I want to shout out the close-up shot of the Mandalorian gauntlet fighter just docked outside of that bar. It was so cool to see. We got to see like a faint like silhouette of it in Rise of Skywalker, but to see like the actual fighter from Clone Wars and Rebels, like live action, boom, right there, was just so beautiful. It was one of my favorite things of this episode.
Did you notice it, Kyle?
No.
Because I didn't know.
Oh, Kyle texted me right away. He's like, dude. No, actually, he was like, mate, look at this.
Mate. That the whole intro sequence, like, I love Boba Fett. That's like space battles, man. Holy fuck. Boba Fett chasing that Tidarium shuttle, and him like flashing the ion cannons too was so hype. But again, like him just hovering over like the sorry, my webcam's here, going up like this in front of their cockpit. You can see Boba in his cockpit just like rising up. Like, it was so good.
That was cool.
But he's just again, Boba Fett just popped off in this episode. Like, I love seeing Slave One. I loved how he was talking to Katie Sackhoff, or like I'll put on a show, princess. Better put those shields up. Like, he's just so good. I love it.
Such a smarmy little
He
asshole. But that's
is.
what. So let's get into this. So, Kyle, you saw the post-credit thing, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so we got a post-credit scene. We're back on Tatooine. We're at Jabba's palace, and what's his? What is his fucking name again?
I can't remember.
Say it.
Like Biddy Unga or something
Yeah,
like that.
Bidatunga or
Bib
Bib
Fortuna.
Bib Fortuna. See,
Bib
I was
Fortuna.
close. So he has now taken Jabba's
Literal replacement.
He's taken his throne. He's put on some lbs because he's just been eating the past. Ever since Jabba dead, he's just been eating.
He's put on some lbs.
He did.
I was having thoughts. I'm like, is this how Jabba once looked?
So we have Fennec. That's her name, right? Fennec. I always forget it. Still, I'll get used to it after Bad Batch. She takes out some Gamorrean guards. I will say this kind of felt like season 1, where it's like, okay, this is a big set, but there's not many people on it. Like, I feel like they could have filled it a little bit more, but that's fine. Maybe it's because Jabba's palace has been down for a bit. Fennec, we see her first. She's shooting a bunch of people. Frees the Twi'lek, so that's good. A free Twi'lek is always a good Twi'lek.
Ayo.
And then Boba comes down, shoots Bib Fortuna, and kicks him out of the chair, takes his throne. So I will say this, and then, sorry, we fade to black. The Book of Boba Fett coming to Disney Plus 2021. We already talked about a little bit about what they could do. I'll say this. Lots of the fan service worked for me as far as Boba being a badass. This one felt just a little too like clean. It was just like, how are you gonna set up his show? Well, he's just gonna go back into Jabba's palace, shoot everybody, and then he's gonna sit on the throne. He's the boss. Okay, like it literally felt like they did this season, and Disney was just like, we fucking love it. Like, you should make a Boba Fett show. And they're like, really? Like, yeah, dude, go shoot something quick. It felt really tacked on, and it didn't feel natural. And this did feel like, if everyone's seen Robot Chicken, when Boba Fett at one point like gets on the jetpack and he's shooting the Ewoks, like, yeah, fuck it, I'm killing.
Oh, so good.
That's what this felt like. And for me, it was still cool. I'm not trying to rain on the parade, but it did just feel like it didn't feel natural. It was like, really, he just took over. Like, why didn't he do that before? I know he didn't have the armor, but it's also, why did he do this? And I know, they'll explain on the show. That's fine, but as of right now, they haven't. So it's just like, he didn't have any qualms with these guys as far as we know. They just hired him for a job, and he completed the job. It's not their fault he landed in a fucking Sarlacc pit because he's an idiot. Like, they didn't have anything to do with that. They didn't leave him for dead. Maybe they'll do prequels to show that, but on its surface, it didn't work for me other than, okay, hype, we're getting a show. And I have a follow-up question, but Kirklin, how did this reveal work for you?
Yeah, I was definitely different vibes than you. I was so hyped on this. As soon as we got like little what would you call it, preface, I did not notice that there was an end credit scene originally. I was texting a buddy of mine, a mate of mine, and
we're gonna use that.
He was like, he mentioned like the book of Boba. Is that gonna be a book? Is that gonna be an episode? And I'm like, I have no idea what you're talking about. So I obviously have to go back and rewatch this. And yeah, just seeing Jabba's palace, seeing, they're called Gamorrean guards, correct? Yeah, just seeing them, they looked awesome. They looked really good, and yeah, I again don't know his name. What is it? Bidunga?
Bib Fortuna.
Bib Fortuna. I just remember him from episode 6. I always thought he was just such a hilarious, gross-looking character. I was gonna mention a meme, but it's too niche. It's too niche to mention. So, but I
share screen it.
I would have to find it. I'm sure it's in our meme page somewhere down there. Meme is blind. I feel like that name's gotta get changed. But anyways,
no, Love is Blind is coming back soon. You know, it's gonna happen.
Is it? I know this isn't a newscast, but I don't want to go too into it.
Well, I don't know because of COVID, but remember they announced they're doing a season 2 and 3.
I don't remember.
We gotta look. No, they. I don't know if they filmed, but no, Netflix announced they're doing 2 and 3, so it's planned. But oh man, I hope that fucking comes out.
Kirklin, do you see that picture I sent you?
Yes.
So that he's actually in Rogue One. That's Bib Fortuna's brother, Beezer Fortuna. He's one of the
really original.
He's one of the guys that's with what's his face again? The crazy old geezer.
The crazy old geezer.
Oh,
Oh, the blind dude.
Sam Whitwer, or not Sam Whitwer, Forrest Whitaker.
Sam
Yeah,
Whitwer.
with Forrest Whitaker. Why can't I
Saw
remember his name?
Gerrera.
Yeah, Saw Gerrera. He's one of
You-
Saw Gerrera's goons.
We'll lead the rebellion. You will give hope.
He was
That
in
kid.
there.
Yeah, he's in there.
Yeah.
So yeah, there you go.
Huh.
So he died on Jeddah.
I don't know. A lot of them escaped. Who knows? I'm not sure what happened.
Kyle, how did you feel about this post-credit scene? And
I
are
wasn't
you
done.
on the
I wasn't
surface-
done. Thanks for. Let me raise my hand, virtually and physically. But yeah, just like that scene, it was super hype for me. I really didn't know how it was gonna end. I was curious if they were gonna just, I don't know, shoot up the place, walk out, or if they're gonna talk to someone and like interrogate him. Obviously,
Luke again.
swiftly put in. Yeah, Luke comes down the stairs after them.
Him
But,
and Grogu just tearing through Jabba's palace again.
But as soon as he sat on the throne and Fennec grabbed that blue liquid, whatever the hell it's called, it looks tasty. Yeah, I just got so
Blue
hyped.
Kool-Aid.
Yeah, absolutely, blue Kool-Aid. It was so hyped for me. I don't know what it was. It badass guy in a badass throne, and I'm
Boba
really
Fett, you know.
yeah,
That's
no,
why.
exactly. Like I'm really looking forward to how this tale, you know, just goes on, and like just seeing him take over this underground crime, because the Hutts are basically just mobsters, right? And it's interesting seeing him kind of take out the head of the mob, you know, of the Hutts. What are they still Hutts? Like is this guy a
No,
Hutt?
he.
I thought it was their race.
Maybe he was working for it, but you know, the Hutts are basically. I can't remember the name of their race. The Hutts are basically like their family.
The
their
family.
Aren't they
organization.
Yeah.
Hutties?
Okay. The
Hut-
Hutties.
Hutties,
Yeah,
Hutties.
Yeah, that
because
would be
they
Hutties.
speak Hutties.
Or are they
Yeah.
speaking
But
Hutties?
yeah.
That's
yeah.
what I was going to ask you. As far I was going to ask everybody that, but it's so when a few months, I guess it was weeks ago, or it was right when Mandalorian was starting, they had said that there was a Boba Fett show happening and there was shooting happening for it, and I was always like, how are you gonna do a Mandalorian show and a Boba Fett the show at the same time? Like I always felt like when they did Mandalorian, it's like, oh, this was because Disney at that point was like, well, don't do Boba. We don't want to use a film character. Now I think they're just like, they hit the fuck it button. They're like, here's Luke Skywalker, motherfuckers. Like, go ahead. But like, I was always like, how is this going to be different? But I think Kirklin hit on the point that I was going to bring up. That I think they're going to make this more of a crime syndicate show. And I think we had heard years ago that it didn't happen, but Guillermo del Toro was working on a Jabba the Hutt movie, and he was going to make it like a crime. Like it was just like the Tatooine pub, like that sort of deal. And if that's what the series is, I'm on board for that. Because I was always the same thing, like Boba Fett, like, okay, what do we do with him as like a character? Because yeah, okay, badass, but let's be honest, it was just the fucking look. That's why everyone loved him. In the original trilogy, Taylor's gonna shake his head. He did nothing. He told Vader, oh, that's where Han is. All he did was point, he's over there, and then he did nothing for the rest of those movies. Now, and that's just like, what do we do with this character? With him, as far as like a show set on Tatooine of like the criminal underworld, and he's trying to run it. That to me is actually interesting, and that's more interesting than Boba Fett the bounty hunter as right now, because it feels like he's almost past that. So, Kyle, now that Kirkland's done, thank goodness, what did you think of that end credit scene, and what do you think of a solo show? What do you want? You want the same as me as Kirkland as far as this crime syndicate, or you think of something else? Where are you on the Book of Boba Fett coming out 2021 next Christmas?
I think it was just a bit like it was cool to see, but I was kind of confused. Like, well, where do we go from this now? Like.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I'm not gonna downplay it, but I was like, well, that's sweet. But I felt like I was waiting for something else. Like maybe I was wanting like Ahsoka again or something like that. But I just love her. But
Do you love her or do you love Rosario Dawson?
Both.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, we'll see what happens. I don't know what's gonna go on. Like I don't really like, just from what you guys have just said, like. The crime syndicate sounds pretty interesting to see, kind of a different offshoot what's happened with the Mandalorian, because they're both, you know, like same, like obviously the armor's different and like the background story is different, but then you're like let's say I'm coming it from like an outsider's position who's just like yeah into it, watching Star Wars. Well, I have two posters
yeah.
of like yeah, they're different, same but different, really.
Yeah.
And like, well, what's going on? Like I have no idea. So for me, like obviously like as per usual, I always need to see more. Like I need to see a trailer, see where else they kind of get the vibe and the theme for where they want to go before I kind of make an opinion or assumption, something like that.
Taylor, before we get your opinion, I'm going to throw to an ad break to support Geekverse Podcast and all the good things we do. And we're back. So Taylor, I was gonna throw a little theory at you. Do you think this show could kind of be a twofer the way you never seen Arrow, but Arrow would do some of it was set in present day, and then some of it was set in the past. So it's kind of like 50-50. I think we could see that with Boba Fett as far as getting the story of how he got out of the Sarlacc pit, like filling in those 5 years. Because it says the Book of Boba. To me, the Book of Boba is not just, okay, from this point on, he was the crime leader. I could see it flushing out everything we've kind of wanted to see these past few years. What do you think about this show? And what do you think?
I think you are very, very spot on with that. You know, Book of Boba Fett. He's got his paper out. He's sitting in his chair. He's got his little lamp on. He's writing down his autobiography. He's writing everything down. We're gonna get flashbacks of him seeing Django get his head sliced off. Him hunting down Windu. No, I'm kidding. We're not gonna go that far back. I think you're right. The last 5 years.
The pounding where you're making a Mandalorian season 1 joke. Yeah.
No, I think you're definitely right. I think we're gonna get some crazy cool stuff of him the last 5 years going to town, him doing some narrating to his adventures and stuff like that. It's gonna be so cool. I'd love to see him get out of the Sarlacc, that whole sequence, and then him, because he had Slave 1, so obviously Slave 1 was held for him. It was secured, so I want to see how he managed to like maintain that. And yeah, so that should be really interesting. Again, that whole end scene, I just leave the credits on because at the end of the episode, I usually just gotta like take a moment to like collect myself. And sure enough, I collected myself.
Smoke a cigarette.
I undid myself because they had another scene that happened. So
oh God, don't say that. I undid myself.
Really?
But yeah, when you see Bib Fortuna, like, yeah, that fat fucker was up there, and I just thought, like, this is just so weird seeing him up there. And again, he drops that McClunky line too. I don't know if you guys caught
did.
that.
I heard, yeah, McClunky. Yeah. I was like, oh God.
Yeah,
oh, I love that. I love Dave.
that's so George right there. George was all over the fucking wall.
So we talked about this a bit at the beginning, but do you think this could be a one and done, like the Book of Boba? It's his story, and then we move on, or do you think it's something more? Because like I said, we'll probably know on Monday, but there are lots of people speculating that Mandalorian season 3 actually takes a break, and that's what this is.
It doesn't have to be anything else than just a limited series, I find. Oh, Bib. Yeah, there he is. Honestly,
Bib, yeah.
It just
the
has
focusing.
to be...
So kind of like Kenobi, one and done?
Yeah, it has to be a one and done.
But the difference is with Kenobi, we know his endpoint. We know he gets shot down by Vader, he goes on to be a Force Ghost. They've opened the door to Boba Fett. We went back to Tatooine once with Rey and Rise of Skywalker for her to drop the whatever the lightsabers there. Obviously, he'd be a lot older, but there's still a chance that Boba Fett could be kicking near. Like he doesn't
standing next to the Force Ghosts of Luke and Leia.
But like, do you like Boba? His age, he ages normally, right?
Yeah.
So he might be too old Rise of Skywalker time, but the same way that they did with Maul, and they filled in this time of like, oh, while he was gone, he was actually a crime lord, stuff like that. You could have Boba for the next 10 years, like running Tatooine. And that's what I mean. Like, I agree with you. It could be a limited series, but it could also be the setup to like a bunch of adventures with Boba on Tatooine or vice versa, like going out. Like,
that's
I don't
true.
like, I don't think they've kicked open this door. They may as well use it. Like, imagine just doing limited series and then
that depends though. Like you said, like I feel like they can't tackle two things. So let's say we get a series with 8 episodes. They can't necessarily tackle him narrating his past and at the same time him covering his crime syndicate and like doing everything in the future, right? Let's see.
Oh, there you go. Now it focused a little bit.
Kind of.
People can pause the video and they'll get it. Well, so you're just saying again that you couldn't have Mando and Boba going at the same time too much?
No, I don't think you could have Boba going through 2 different stories at the same time. Him narrating his past over 8 episodes. I'm assuming it'd be 8 episodes, and then him also running his crime syndicate and.
Oh yeah, no, I think no. Oh no, I think that's so because my pitch of the show was it was half in the present, half in the past.
Oh, okay.
So I think he could bump into some character from the past. That's because the reason, Taylor, there's 2 reasons why I think it'll still be present day. One, they gave him the armor back. If you want to sell the show, he has to be in his armor. Tamora Morrison's great, but if it's just like it's a prequel about him without the armor, people won't be as hyped for that. And two, if they're going to do the Book of Boba, they could have showed a different scene of him in the past. Why show something in present day? They didn't have to show, to me, them showing him go to Jabba's palace and take it over shows, oh, this is going to go somewhere, not just, hey, a cool moment. Maybe it is, but I think that's setting, that particular sets up story down the line. So
you make a good point. One thing before we pass it off, when he walked into that same position as Luke, I really thought like, oh my god, is he gonna get dropped down where like the Rancor is and we get like a Rancor Boba fight?
I was thinking about it.
I just always think about Return of that Jedi. That poor guy just cries when he died. You know, it's just a sad moment. Anything else to add on Boba or the Book of Boba Fett coming next year?
When Boba was like fleeing from Gideon's light cruiser and those ties went after him, and Boba, like, I didn't know that his ship Slave One could do this, but the guns down below like folded backwards, like inverted back to like shoot like his oncoming pursuer and blew up the ties. He didn't have to do that because he jumped to light speed, so like he's just an ass, like a badass asshole, because like he's fleeing away, he drops the turrets backwards, pops them, and immediately jumps into hyperspace. Like it's hilarious.
Oh yeah, that's like a GTA Online move. It's like you really didn't have to do it, but you just killed that guy for no reason. Yeah.
Classic Boba. I'm just looking at my notes here. Anything else anybody want to shout out because we're going near the end? I had one shot of the TIE fighter when they launched them, when they like launched the TIE fighters, and it was like from the docking bay, like from below, and it followed them. That was so cool. That was beautiful. And I guess we haven't even said it, but I shout it again. I'm happy for John Watts, the guy that directed Spider-Man, Far From Home, and Homecoming. He's going to direct Fantastic Four. It's a good pick. I'm happy. But I will again say Peyton Reed, who directed Ant-Man and the Wasp, Ant-Man, and he did that, are one of my favorite episodes with the spiders. It was episode, what was it, 2 or 3 this season?
I think it was 3.
Episode 3, and then he directed this. I just so wish Peyton Reed got to direct Fantastic Four because I think he did a great job with this. Like, again, it's a whole team effort with this, but Peyton Reed is just a very underrated guy, and I hope this just means he's doing more Star Wars maybe directing the finale. But I loved that shot of that TIE fighter. Let's see if there's...
Yeah, that I also thought just like the docking, or would it be a docking? Like that little like... What the fuck is it even called? Like the force field that they go through.
Oh, like
their
the
ship.
Yeah,
ray
that was
shields.
cool.
Yeah, like I really like the location of it on Moff Gideon's ship. Taylor probably knows what the correct terminology for that
It's a
ship
light
is called.
cruiser.
But, oh, okay. But I just thought it was really unique how it shot out of the front, as opposed to we're so used to like the Star Destroyers having it on the side. I believe. I think I got that ship right.
I think you did.
Close. Taylor's making me think now.
I believe Star Destroyers have...
I'm pulling that shit up.
The TIE fighters descend out the hangar bay down below, as you remember in
Isn't
A
it
New
behind
Hope.
you, Taylor?
The Lego one, definitely not accurate to the live action Star Destroyer.
Oh, okay.
Does have the ray shields on there?
Wow.
Oh, yeah.
The two other things, I always forget her name now. We're going to have to learn it, but do you remember, Taylor, what Sasha Banks' character's name is? It's like Ray is something, isn't it? Or what is
I
it?
don't remember it.
So it's just the boss, Sasha Banks. But her gun, I'm not sure if you noticed, Taylor, the shots it makes, the sound, it's like Django's gun.
I was gonna
And
say, yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love, like, that sound, that's up there with, like, a female orgasming. I'm not going to lie. Like, hearing that... Hearing that, Kirklin, this episode, hearing that step, it's, oh my God, just gets you going. It's just like, it's so good because I love that Django gun, and none of the guns are like that. So
Travis had to put a pillow on his lap.
oh yeah, my lightsaber night. And then the other thing was, what was my last point here? Okay. Oh, at one point so they do the distraction, they land, and then all the girls go in and they're shooting everybody and whatnot, and then Mando goes by himself. When he was kind of sneaking around the ship, they had like this almost violin, like Lord of the Rings, like medieval version of his theme. Again, Ludwig is just like the fucking man. He's just gonna be this generation's John Williams or like Hans Zimmer. But like, again, how many variations of this theme can this man do? But he keeps doing it every fucking week, and he's so good. Like, but like, I cannot wait for this track to drop because like hearing like a violin version of the Mando theme, that was hype. Like, it was like almost like operatic. That was so good, and I just absolutely loved it. So yeah, it's Yeah, that's all the notes I had for. We hit all the major ones, a little ones. So I'm gone with notes. Kirkland Passer, you look like I saw the hand even before you threw it up. What do you want to get out there, mate?
Yeah, I found it pretty funny how when Sasha Banks was just kicking ass on Boba, and then like everyone else was just kind of standing there as they're just like potentially murdering each other. Like they both like use their flamethrowers on each other, and like when was it Boba that used his like I'm gonna call
The
it like a
raft?
lasso.
Yeah.
Yeah,
She
whatever. the
caught
fuck
it
it's
and
called.
she like strengthened them over. It's like,
Oh
fuck,
yeah, that was
she
so
lives.
badass. But I just found it hilarious because then it goes to Bo-Katan and she's just like standing there like blank face, just watching them. It's just they'll settle it out. But I really like that scene, but I also found it funny that they're just kind of standing there. We're getting like a MTV Cribs.
Yeah, sorry. My
Kyle
housemate's
picked up his
coming home.
laptop.
Moving from the living room.
All I would laugh is we just see like the windows burst into SWAT team going.
Just getting swatted.
Yeah, getting swatted. That's the term. Oh, I got swatted. But yeah, we just see Kyle just get lapelled on. What else, Kirkland? Anything else to shout out?
No, I think I really talked about everything I wanted to. Ooh, Kyle's looking relaxed. I like it.
Yeah. Like,
But yeah, no, nothing really. Music's phenomenal. I'm expecting big things in season 3. I'm excited to be able to listen to this now on Spotify.
Oh yeah, because one track's gonna be like Luke Skywalker returns. You'll be like, oh, this is why they didn't release it. It's like
yeah,
like Qui-Gon's noble death.
that'll make sense.
Kyle, anything else to shout out?
no, I think this episode was amazing and just everything about it. So I'm pretty pumped.
It's getting a movie review. We've been over 2 hours of this. We're like this. This felt like a huge, massive movie.
Yeah.
Taylor Field, anything else? If not, you can transition into your review score.
So yeah, couple things. I love that Fennec got a lot more spotlight in this episode. I love that she was breaking out some like martial arts and just going to town with some stormtroopers. That was
She's
so
57 years old in real life.
She's 50-fucking-7.
Are you
Holy
serious?
Shit.
Yeah. I don't look
Wow.
that good right now at 27.
Okay,
You
how does
don't. You're
Disney
right.
have this? Like Chadwick Boseman and now her, like all these actors and actresses that are like older in age and they look so good for their age. Like that's nuts. Oh. Anyways,
do.
so yeah, Fennec, she just popped off and it was so awesome. What's so funny?
Continue.
I'm just looking at Star Wars ships.
Oh.
Like relationship ships, like
Yeah,
Luke and
yeah.
Ahsoka.
They're all Kylo.
The other thing I
Kylo
want
with different characters.
I want to point out when Mando was fighting that one dark trooper and his fucking head was just impaled into the hull of the ship. That was so
Oh, yeah.
intense. Holy
That was eerie.
shit.
What about when he broke that stormtrooper's neck with the staff?
It was pretty good
That was
too.
interesting. That was quite the play. I thought he was gonna just choke him out or something. It was very like PG-13 when he just snapped it. Also just on that same scene, when Mando uses flamethrower on the Dark Trooper and he kind of got like lit up. I thought he looked badass, honestly. Like just like Inferno. But yeah,
It's the closest thing I got to a Ghost Rider in Star Wars.
like actually, yeah.
What else do I have? I think that's probably pretty much it. Like, I guess like my other thought is like where did Dr. Pershing go? Because obviously he's still their captive, so that'll lead to another possible interesting.
He's just sitting
story.
there waiting.
Yeah. But yeah,
He
theme-
sneaks onto Luke's ship.
He takes the X-wing. The scores were so good with Mando's theme in this, Luke's theme, and the Dark Troopers themes, all so freaking good. But other than that, it's just I'm gonna have to rewatch it many more times because it's such a good episode. I do enjoy like all the memes and stuff you're sending me, Travis. Like I can see like there's some like Luke holding Grogu, and it's like unfortunate events events that precede unfortunate events or something like that. Like I saw another one of like this guy. It's like Kylo Ren at the Jedi Temple, and he's mixing a blender with green like sludge in the blender. There's some really like freaking hilarious ones. Oh, what do we got? Oh, I love that one. That's so good. Grogu, Ben, the temple is burning. Ben, what are we gonna do? Oh, but yeah, my rating, I I
Oh,
am
come
actually
on.
blown away. Like this, like it was a fantastic episode, but like I definitely don't feel like it is that like 5 out of 5 for me, like the Ahsoka one was.
Wow. I'm in
Um,
Mm,
shock.
I'm trying to
really?
remember. It was the Ahsoka one. I did the 5-5, right?
Yeah, and you
Yeah.
said you can never give another one another
Yeah.
5. It only has to be one. You're fucking
Well,
broken system.
well, I honestly thought that this would have broken my thing with that, but just looking back, like I love the episode a lot, but it's just it's just I would probably give it like a 4.8.5, 4.9. Like it's close, but it's I can honestly
4
say
point.
I can honestly say it's not like a perfect episode for me. For me and what I like in Star Wars, my perfect episode was them bringing in Ahsoka and getting that Thrawn name drop. Like everything about that whole like samurai-esque episode with Mando and Ahsoka going to town on saving that village was just so badass. I love that planet. I love all that. But needless to say, this episode was absolutely primo. It was fantastic. Watch this episode if you haven't watched it. Go watch the whole fucking
Oh,
series. 'Cause I
well,
don't know
it's
why
a
you're
little
tuning
late. It's a
into
little
this.
okay. We're
If you haven't
we're
watched
almost
it.
we're 2.5 hours in the spoilers. You haven't watched it. We just talked about everything. Oh, rolling on the floor laughing, Taylor. My goodness. Kyle Smith, what would you give this episode out of 5?
Out of all the episodes I've seen, or all of them, I think this is a 5 out of 5. Everything is so good about it. It gets me so hyped to like rewatch the show again, and just like Travis, when we watched no, when they rebooted the trilogy. No, I'm trying to think of the not Rogue One, Star Wars, Force Awakens. Oh my
no.
god, I
Star
couldn't think
Wars
of
when they
it.
rebooted
So-
Star Wars.
Oh, but not when we went to go watch Force Awakens the first time, and we were so hyped, and when like Kylo Ren came out with a lightsaber and used the Force, we were like hyped up. That's the feeling that I went through having
Yeah.
this, and it was just amazing. So yeah, 5 out of 5. It was just even with the whole Luke CGI, I'll let that pass. Like that's a later issue, and just the show on itself is it was unreal.
Mm-hmm. So for story and enjoyment, I would give it a 5 out of 5. For like a critical, like, that CGI was tough, it's a 4.5. Just because like that did really take me out of it. One, I didn't like the Dark Trooper CGI either, but the Luke CGI for me, it's like in my critique, like a 0.5 off because it's like, I still think you should went with an actor because it did really. It took me out of it for quite a while that first viewing, and it still takes a little bit to get used to. But still, it'll always be like, I wish they'd made a different choice here. But for enjoyment, it's like a 5 out of 5. I think the story they nailed it. It was great. Yeah, I got to gloat a little bit last night to Taylor because I was like, look at all this shit. But I just fucking, Taylor, what does it say that me and Filoni were on the same wavelength? It's something's going right there. I don't know, but
You're thinking like George.
I am. It's scary. Here we go. I can't wait. But so Kirklin, if you guys don't know, if you're just listening to this, he would not rate any episodes. He said he was going to rate the entire season. So Kirklin, while we have the rate master here, as far as Kyle Smith, make sure that you give us a rating. Are you giving this whole season out of 5 or out of 10?
I think it should be out of 10, to be honest.
It's up to him.
Can you remind me what it was when I did season 1? Because I do
No.
not remember.
I don't remember either.
Okay, well, I will do 5. I'll do 5. I think 5
You're
is
not a fucking
appropriate.
encyclopedia. I
Well,
only know so
you
much.
are
of
like
geek
with
words.
most things podcast.
He's always
Oh, you
saying
hit
like I can just whip the audio out to counter.
Yeah,
your
episode
argument,
137 at minute 1 hour
Oh,
and
sorry, I
27.
didn't
This is
remember-
what you said.
I didn't remember Kirkland's Mandalorian season 1 review from over a year ago. I'm sorry,
You
but you know what?
should.
I'll look into it now.
I
I
remember
will.
yours.
No, you don't. That's a fucking full-faced lie, mate.
Yeah, so this season, I really feel like it was just cranked up from last season. There was no Toro episodes. There was very minimal, like there was filler episodes, but it felt out of place. Or what's the best way to phrase this? I feel
I
like
felt like it had more of a purpose this go
yeah,
around.
absolutely. I feel like it still took us somewhere in the plot as opposed to in some filler episodes where you start the episode and by the end of the episode you're in the exact same spot that you were. I feel like it if it did have that, it was very minimal, and there was a lot of episodes that I was expecting a filler, but it just brought us more plot, and it was really awesome. I think I'm thinking of the Boba episode, because the episode before that, they're like, yeah, we have to go to this planet, and then they just went straight there. Oh, sorry, that was when when they go to the Jedi Temple.
Yeah.
And they meet Boba. So just stuff like that, big character reveals. Obviously the Luke moment is just insane. There are some moments that I like looking back on. I'm like, it's not the best in my eyes. I think it could have been done a little bit better. But overall, those big moments really just kind of push those smaller moments that are a little bit negative for me, at least, just to the side. It's just such a phenomenal season. I'm probably gonna give it a 5 out of 5. Honestly, I absolutely love this. There's just really great moments. It brought back a character that was really forgotten, I feel, which is Boba. I feel like, at least for Travis, definitely. You said like he was the most overhyped character, or just
no. Yeah, forgotten's different. I'd say overrated, but he's not forgotten. Everyone brings up Boba Fett every fucking year. When they're gonna bring him back? Where is he? Like he's
but like I mean, I'm not really in those like social circles of like people talking about like, oh, Boba's gonna have to come back one day. I feel like, oh, Boba was a cool character back in the day, but like he's just forgotten about. Like if it wasn't for the show, we wouldn't have ever gotten that character again. Probably.
Really? You're friends with Taylor Field, and you say you don't hear someone talking about Boba Fett coming
I'm
back?
talking like the Twitter circles, okay?
Oh, okay.
You can also take my Twitter off of this YouTube live stream. Nope. I don't even know why it's on here.
Well, they can go find it, and then go find it and be disappointed when you're not on there anymore. And they get Kirklin back on Twitter. But ladies and gentlemen, that was Mandalorian Season 2. We did it. We reviewed every single episode. We did that last year. We did commentary tracks for Season 1. Kyle, thank you for joining for the finale. It was lots of fun to have you on there, sir.
Good. Thanks for having me.
Taylor and Kirklin, good as always to do this. It was tons of fun. It was a journey, and you know what, for myself, I'm just so hyped that I enjoyed last year, but it's nowhere near to what this year is. I'm just so excited for the future. And for us, as far as reviews, guys, we got less than a month, and WandaVision's coming up, and this is gonna be fun to do this on the Marvel side because it's the first MCU show. I'm very excited, and then like literally after that we have Falcon Winter Soldier, and then we get Loki, and then we're gonna go into the summer with What If, and then like Mandalorian's gonna be starting up, or whatever's starting up in December. We're just kind of like a slew. And if you liked everything we did here with this Mandalorian thing, we did it for the boys earlier, me and Taylor. We're doing it for WandaVision. We're doing it for Loki. We're doing it for all these episodes because it's been tons of fun. And just a big thank you to all you listeners, because you guys have been really supporting these episodes. All these episodes have done really, really well for us, and we are thankful that, because there's every podcast in the world that's a Geek podcast is talking about Star Wars and Mandalorian. But if you've chosen to spend your time with us, I thank you very much. I hope you do the same with us in WandaVision. If you're not a Marvel fan, do it again in the future. I guess too we'll be doing it for the Snyder Cut if it's releasing weekly as well, because that's going to be 4 episodes. So we got lots of stuff coming up. So we just promise you, go down the links below. You can find everything, including Kirklin's non-Twitter account. But we promise, when you hear from us next, which I didn't even plug, we got the fucking Wonder Woman review coming up next week.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
Next week.
It'll not be boring.
May the Force be with you.
Always.
Always. Beautiful.
Boom.